Chapter 93. When Yang Tian did not use the power of the dragon orb, he was only equivalent to a level 7 martial artist. His alcohol tolerance was not very good. Soon he was drunk. This was the first time in his life that Yang Tian was drunk. Other than Zhao Shuangxing and Zhu Yu, Xiao Fei, Zhou Hao, and the others were also drunk. Looking at those lying on the tables, those lying on the chairs, and those under the tables, Zhao Shuangxing could not help but smile bitterly. What should we do now? They are all drunk. Zhu Yu looked at the group of drunk people in front of her and smiled bitterly. Zhao Shuangxing said, "Someone will take care of it. We are almost done drinking. Let's go." Zhu Yu nodded her head. Zhao Shuangxing waved her hand to call over the hostesses and asked them to take care of Yang Tian and the others. Then, she stood up and walked out of the private room with Zhu Yu. Zhao Shuangxing did not have to worry about the safety of Yang Tian and the others at all. This was heaven on earth. The martial artists were in charge of security, and the management was very strict. After Zhao Shuangxing and Zhu Yu left the private room, they went to the service counter and paid for the drinks and hostesses. As for the private room rental, Xiao Fei had already paid for it. 3 million. Why is it so expensive? After paying, Zhu Yu stuck out her tongue and said, 3 million martial coins was not even enough to sell 3 level 1 beast cores. She did not expect to spend so much money on a meal with more than 10 people. Zhao Shuangxing smiled and said, "Didn't you see that Xiao Fei ordered Fiery Flame, which costs 30,000 a bottle? Also, those hostesses are the prettiest here. Plus, they're all hostesses. Each of them costs 200,000 martial coins a night. They're all a bunch of perverts." After Zhao Shuangxing finished speaking, Zhu Yu snorted. Only then did she remember that those young women in the private room had exquisite faces and great figures, compared to those women with her petite figure. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Yang Tian woke up on time. When he opened his eyes, Yang Tian was still in a daze. But soon, he sat up because this room was very unfamiliar. At this moment, a woman's sleep-talking voice came from the side. Yang Tian's eyes widened as he turned around to take a look. A woman with long hair was facing away from him, revealing her smooth back. Yang Tian immediately reacted and realized what had happened. He lifted the pink brocade quilt and saw his naked body. The woman beside him, with her back to him, was also completely naked. Last night, Yang Tian held his forehead as he recalled what had happened last night. He knew that he had gotten drunk in the end. Then, in a daze, Yang Tian couldn't remember what happened after that. Yang Tian frowned and patted the shoulder of the young woman beside him. The young woman soon woke up. "Sir, you're awake." The young woman turned around and rubbed her eyes. She quickly sobered up and looked at Yang Tian with a smile. "What happened last night?" Yang Tian asked unhappily. Although this woman was good-looking, Yang Tian still felt a little uncomfortable, even though he was a man. The young woman thought for a moment and said, "You were drunk last night, so I helped you to this room." Then what?" Yang Tian asked again. "We went to sleep." The young woman replied in a matter-of-fact tone. Yang Tian said helplessly, "I'm asking, did we do anything last night?" The young woman was in this line of work. She immediately understood Yang Tian's meaning and said with a smile, "No, but in order to make more money, I stayed. I only took off my clothes, because your body was dirty." After the young woman finished speaking, Yang Tian finally breathed a sigh of relief. He thought to himself that he didn't do anything wrong to Qin Fei. Drinking makes things worse. "I'll never get drunk again," Yang Tian muttered. He casually put on the clothes on the bedside table that reeked of alcohol, opened the door, and walked out. After leaving heaven on earth, Yang Tian drove home. "Why didn't he come back last night?" Wang Hong asked when she saw Yang Tian returning to the newly bought villa. Yang Tian felt a little guilty and quickly said, "I got drunk last night and stayed at friend's house." Wang Hong didn't suspect anything and said, "You smell like alcohol. Go take a shower and change into clean clothes." After taking a shower and changing into clean clothes, Yang Tian took out his satellite phone and dialed Qin Fei's number. At this time, it was morning in Yang Tian's place. On the other side of Earth, it was probably evening or night. Qin Fei's class had already ended. The phone rang a few times before it was connected. Qin Fei's happy voice came through. "Good morning, Yang Tian." Yang Tian smiled and said, "Xiao Fei, I've decided. I'll set off from Tianxiong City tomorrow. I'll reach Hero City in a month at the latest." "Really?" Qin Fei asked happily when she heard that. Yang Tian nodded. "Yes. I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you very much." Qin Fei said, "Then you have to be careful. There will be many exotic beasts along the way, even though you're already a level 8 martial artist." Yang Tian smiled and said, "Don't worry. All right, I prepared a gift for you." "What gift?" Qin Fei asked curiously. Yang Tian chuckled. "It's a secret now. You'll know when I get there. I promise you'll like it." The two chatted for a full hour before reluctantly hanging up the phone. After tidying up his house, Yang Tian went out and walked to Qin Lao's house. "Grandpa, I'm planning to go to Hero City tomorrow," Yang Tian said after seeing Qin Lao. Ever since he came back, old Qin had asked Yang Tian to remove the word Qin from his name and directly call him Grandpa. Of course, Yang Tian was willing to do so. Anyway, after marrying Qin Fei in the future, he would also call old Qin that way. Qin Lao nodded and looked at Yang Tian. "There's no rush for you to get married. It's best to wait until Xiao Fei graduates. Of course, this is Grandpa's suggestion. If Xiao Fei agrees, Grandpa and Xiao Fei's parents won't have any objections." After Qin Lao finished speaking, Yang Tian scratched his head in embarrassment. Bolia University was a 3-year program. Qin Fei would graduate in 2 years. Waiting for 2 years was nothing. Yang Tian knew that although Qin Lao said it tactfully, the meaning was very clear. He wanted Yang Tian to wait for Qin Fei to graduate before discussing the marriage. Qin Lao didn't object to Yang Tian looking for Qin Fei, which was equivalent to tacitly agreeing to their relationship before marriage. From Qin Lao's words, Yang Tian also knew that Qin Fei's parents had agreed. Before Yang Tian became a martial artist, Yang Tian didn't have such treatment. Even Qin Fei's parents, who were originally opposed to this, had no objections. Of course, this was because Yang Tian had become a level 8 martial artist. "Xiao Tian, how do you plan to go to Hero City?" Meanwhile, old man Qin asked again. "How?" Yang Tian smiled. "I'll take a short supersonic plane." Qin Lao shook his head. "I suggest you walk to Hero City." "Walk? It's separated by the sea. How do I get there?" Yang Tian's eyes widened in confusion. Qin Lao knew that Yang Tian didn't understand what he meant. He smiled and said, "Set off from Tianxiong City, go all the way north, pass through Russia, then go west and cross the English Channel. Won't you arrive there?" Hero City was originally in the middle of England. "Why? Won't it take a long time? I told Xiao Fei that I would arrive within a month." Yang Tian asked again. Qin Lao said, "This is an experience on foot. When you reach Hero City, you might be a level 9 martial artist." Chapter 94. A level 9 martial artist. This was what Yang Tian had hoped for. Facing Qin Lao's expectant gaze, Yang Tian nodded vigorously. Qin Lao smiled and said, "Be careful on the road. Grandpa has prepared something for you." After Qin Lao finished speaking, Steward Wu walked over with a silver white box. When he arrived in front of Yang Tian, Steward Wu opened the box. Inside was a set of black armor. Qin Lao smiled and said, "This set of armor was made from the winged serpent's skin that you brought back. Although your own defensive capabilities are not bad, after wearing this set of armor, your safety is even more guaranteed. Come, try it on." This set of black armor was not as gorgeous as the armor that Yang Tian had seen Qi Sun and Wei Zhong wearing before. Furthermore, it did not have a helmet. Yang Tian's clothes were very thin, so he did not need to take them off. He quickly put on the armor. Not bad. The size is just right." After seeing Yang Tian put on the black armor, Qin Lao stroked his beard and smiled with satisfaction. This type of armor was completely different from the armor of the ancient times. Because it was made from the winged serpent's soft fur, in addition to the intricate alloy buckles, it could be tightly fitted to the body and accentuated Yang Tian's well-built figure. "You have already ordered your own weapon, so Grandpa did not prepare anything for you. However, this is what you need. As Qin Lao spoke, he took out a piece of paper from his inner pocket and unfolded it in front of Yang Tian. It was actually a map. Yang Tian took it from Qin Lao. There was a thick, curvy line on the map. Around the thick line were the names of the various safety cities. Further away from the thick line were some small circles. In the small circles were the names of some high-level exotic beasts. The thick line on the map started from Tianxiong City and went north, then west, all the way to Hero City. Yang Tian looked at it and knew that Qin Lao had prepared this picture for him. With such a map, Yang Tian had an obvious route forward. Unlike before, when he could only use the satellite map on the intelligent auxiliary device to move forward randomly. Thank you, Grandpa. In this way, I have a clear route forward. After Yang Tian looked at the map, he folded it and put it away with a smile. Actually, this route is the most dangerous one, Qin Lao said. Once you kill all the high-level beasts along the way, you'll be as rich as a country by the time you reach Hero City. You'll also become a true level 9 martialist. Yang Tian nodded. The most dangerous route? Yang Tian wasn't afraid at all. There was not a single level 9 exotic beast on this route, but there were quite a number of level 7 and level 8 exotic beasts. If the information of such exotic beasts were to be sold online, it would cost at least a few 100 million martial coins. This was the value of information about exotic beasts. Yang Tian knew that this might be Qin Lao's way of testing him. Previously, Yang Tian had received Qin Lao's hint to go to the danger zone to train. That was how he had achieved his current achievements. Of course, the little blue dragon's help was even greater. To Yang Tian, this was a kind of pressure, but it was also a kind of motivation. After leaving Qin Lao's villa, Yang Tian went straight home and started to pack his things. Yang Tian didn't tell his parents about this training, as he was afraid that they would be worried. Wang Hong happily helped Yang Tian pack his things, while Yang Lin watched from the side with a face full of smiles. After packing his things, Yang Tian went out again and bought a lot of survival necessities, filling up a huge backpack. After he was ready to set off, Yang Tian called Qin Fei and told her that he was going to walk to Hero City. Qin Fei grew up in a family of martial artists, so she was very understanding. Although she was disappointed, she still encouraged Yang Tian and told him that she would wait for him at Hero City. At around 6 in the morning, Yang Tian bade farewell to his parents and left home with Little Unicorn. After the Little Unicorn swallowed the level 2 beast core and digested it, its wings had grown out and were furry. It was estimated that after a period of time, after swallowing the level 3 beast core, its wings would grow out and it would be able to fly in the sky. This time, Yang Tian naturally had to bring Little Unicorn with him. When they reached the English Channel, he could sit on Little Unicorn's back and fly across. Beasts grew to adulthood much faster than humans. Yang Tian first went to the Edge casting ground. In just 2 days, Yang Tian's custom-made sword was completed. Because Yang Tian had urged them to hurry, the people in the Edge casting ground had to work overtime to rush it out. This custom-made Tang Dao was about 10 centimeters longer than the previous one. The blade was also wider and thicker. It weighed 52 kilograms, more than twice the weight of the previous one. The previous Tang Dao had been placed in the basement of the villa by Yang Tian. It was something worth treasuring. An ordinary person would not be able to wield such a heavy sword. But when Yang Tian held it in his hand, he felt very comfortable. Yang Tian pulled the sword out of the sheath. The blade was very smooth, but it did not glow. The material looked much finer than before. Yang Tian bent his finger and flicked the blade, letting out a soft hum. The middle-aged designer smiled. The largest proportion of YT elemental alloy is used. It is already the toughest and most flexible sword in the world. Because the material is finer and smoother, it won't be stained with blood. As the designer spoke, he took a needle and pricked his finger. He squeezed out a drop of blood and let it fall on the blade. Just as the designer said, the blade would not be stained with blood. When the drop of blood fell on the blade, it turned into a bead of blood and rolled down the blade. Yang Tian was very happy. When he paid for the sword, he paid an extra 1 million yuan. After leaving the Edge casting ground, Yang Tian went straight to the northern gate. Yang Tian had already informed Xiao Fei and the others about this matter. Xiao Fei and the others were already waiting at the gate. They knew that Yang Tian was going on a long journey, so they came to send him off. After saying goodbye to Xiao Fei and the others, Yang Tian went straight north. After leaving the city, Yang Tian no longer felt depressed about leaving home. Instead, he was filled with fighting spirit. According to the route that Qin Lao had given him, Yang Tian estimated that it would take him more than a year to complete it. By the time he reached Hero City and stayed there for a while, Qin Fei would have graduated. Yang Tian felt that the reason old Qin asked him to do this, other than to let him gain experience, there was another purpose, and that was to stall for time. Of course, this was only Yang Tian's guess, and he was not sure. Master, what if Yang Tian doesn't become a rank 9 warrior when he reaches Hero City? What should we do then? Qin Lao and steward Wu Fong stood on top of the northern gate's wall. Wu Fong looked worried when he saw that Yang Tian's figure had already become a black in the distance. Wu Fong didn't know that Yang Tian had a dragon pet, so of course he was worried. Qin Lao was full of confidence in Yang Tian. He smiled and said, "He will definitely become a rank 9 warrior. Xiao Fei, we will rely on him in the future." Who would have thought that 10 years would pass in the blink of an eye? Chapter 95. Du Xiongwu's family left Tianxiong City in a small jet. It was a short-distance plane that flew very fast. Ordinary flying beasts couldn't catch up with it, and it was the most popular means of transportation. However, the weakness of such a small plane was that it couldn't fly long distances. For example, there were 5 stops to go from Tianxiong City to Hero City. Of course, such a short-distance plane couldn't go directly from Tianxiong City to Hero City. After reaching another city, they had to book another ticket. Right now, the plane with the serial number Z21 had just taken off from Black Rock City. Black Rock City was more than 3,000 kilometers away from Tianxiong City. It was located in the north of Tianxiong City. After taking off from there and going through a safe flight route, they would reach the former Russian territory in less than 10 minutes. Du Xiongwu's family. Perhaps it was an unlucky year. After being defeated by Yang Tian, not only did Du Xiongwu's martial artist realm drop to level 6, he was too ashamed to stay in Tianxiong City. More than 10 minutes after taking off, the entire plane started shaking. "Dear passengers, the plane has malfunctioned. We need to make an emergency landing immediately. Please fasten your seatbelts." At that moment, the captain's voice was heard in the cabin. The plane was full of people. There were originally 21 seats, but 36 people were squeezed in. It was seriously overloaded. There was no other way. They could only rely on planes to travel from one safe zone to another. There were too many passengers, and every plane was overloaded. Du Xiongwu wanted to charter a plane, but there were a lot of people who were richer than Du Xiongwu. He didn't leave at the right time. There were no more chartered planes, unless he booked 1 or 2 months in advance. When he was the master of Shunwei Dojo, Du Xiongwu had a lot of power. Back then, as long as he wanted to go out, he only needed to say the word, and a charter plane would be prepared for him. Now, Du Xiongwu could only sigh at how realistic this world was more than 10 minutes later. Rumble. The plane shook violently, as if it was going to fall apart at any time. It only stopped after a long time. The passengers on the plane were very lucky in this plane crash. The plane had to make an emergency landing on a grassland. Everyone exited the cabin in a state of shock. What should we do now? There's no safe zone around us. Are we supposed to walk to our destination? This is a grassland, a world of wolves. We're in trouble now. If I had known earlier, I would have waited for 2 days before leaving. It's over now. After coming out of the cabin, everyone looked at what seemed to be a boundless grassland. Everyone was panicking and uneasy. The plane took off not too long ago. We're only about 300 kilometers away from Black Rock City. We can only walk back. Du Xiongwu frowned as he looked at his warrior assistive tool. At this time, the captain opened the luggage compartment at the back of the plane and waved to everyone. "Everyone, come and get your luggage. Leave this place while it's still early. It'll be troublesome if it gets dark." March 1st, 2116, 6 a.m. After half a month of traveling, Yang Tian was almost 1,000 kilometers away from Tianqiong City. Over the past 20 days, Yang Tian finally understood that the route Qin Lao had planned for him was actually very easy to take. Most of the roads were highways built by humans before the YS virus outbreak. They had not been used for almost 100 years. These highways were covered by trees and weeds. By following the highways, they did not need to sleep in the open most of the time. Although almost 100 years had passed, some of the houses built by humans were still usable. Creak, creak, creak. After Yang Tian woke up, he pushed open the broken metal door. This was a small building built by the side of the road. The entire building was covered in vines and surrounded by trees. Creak, creak. At this time, the little blue dragon's excited cries could be heard from afar. Then, a green shadow flashed and appeared on Yang Tian's shoulder. The little blue dragon that had been out for the night had finally returned. At this time, the little unicorn also walked out of the house. After leaving Tianqiong City, Yang Tian let the little unicorn consume a level 3 beast core. The little unicorn's body had doubled in size. Its body was now more than a meter long. Yang Tian could not even hold it in his arms. The little unicorn's wings had grown out, and a white, jade-like horn had grown out of its forehead. Little fella, it's time to practice flying. Don't be afraid of falling. Yang Tian patted the little unicorn's head and said with a smile. The little unicorn rubbed its face against Yang Tian's waist. It walked forward with its 4 hooves for more than 10 meters and spread its wings. Each of its wings was more than a meter long after it spread out. It was covered in snow-white feathers, and the shape of its wings was like that of an eagle's. Huff, huff, huff. After the little unicorn spread its wings, it started to flap them, creating a strong gust of wind. With the help of the gust of wind, the little unicorn's body gradually rose up and its 4 legs left the ground. Yang Tian looked at all of this curiously. Growing horns on a horse's head and then growing wings was clearly against the evolution of a creature. Birds all had streamlined bodies. As for a horse, if it flew in the sky, the air resistance was greater and it would affect its flying speed. However, this world had long become inconceivable. After the little blue dragon transformed, it could fly even without wings. This was clearly not using the power of the air, but another mysterious power. Thinking of this, Yang Tian sighed. The power of the Dragon Ball in his body was similar to the power in the little blue dragon's body. Then, would it be able to fly in the future? While Yang Tian was letting his imagination run wild, the little unicorn had already flown more than 10 meters in the air. It started to fly forward slowly and try to turn in the air. Yang Tian retracted his thoughts and stared at the little unicorn without blinking. After the little unicorn spun in the air a few times, it increased its speed. Its 4 legs bent backward and its neck stretched forward. This posture was clearly to reduce the air resistance. The little unicorn flew faster and faster until it could no longer maintain its balance. Finally, it fell from the sky. Bang! The little unicorn was like a fighter jet that swooped down from the sky, breaking a large tree that was as thick as a bowl. Woo-woo! After a while, the little unicorn's painful cries could be heard from the forest in front. Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. This kind of thing happened frequently in the past few days. A little bird had to put in a lot of effort to fly into the sky. Although the little unicorn was an exotic beast, it had to go through this process as well. When it completely mastered the flying technique, it could fly freely in the sky. Hoochie, the little unicorn, snorted and came out from the forest. It limped in front of Yang Tian. Little guy, if you want to fly freely, this is the price you have to pay. As Yang Tian spoke, he patted the little unicorn's head. Then he squatted down and checked the little unicorn's limping front leg. He was relieved when he found that it wasn't broken and only suffered some superficial injuries. Other than its injured front leg, the little unicorn's neck was also cut by Gigi a few times. Blood was seeping out. Squeak, squeak. At this moment, the little blue dragon cried out twice and jumped from Yang Tian's shoulder to the little unicorn's back. Yang Tian had already stayed here for 2 days. Now that the little unicorn was injured, he had to stay for another 2 days. Chapter 96. Run. The wolf pack is coming again. Oh, There were thick clouds in the sky, blocking out the starlight. It was so dark that one could not even see their own fingers. In the forest, the flashlights kept flashing. The howls of wolves, the screams of people, and the sounds of panic could be heard. Du Xiongwu spat out the dirt in his mouth. He looked at the direction and continued to run, with Zhu Shaoqing on his back. Behind him were his sons, Du Cheng and Dewey, and his daughter, Du Mei. At this moment, a blackback wolf appeared in front of Du Xiongwu, blocking his path. Du Xiongwu waved his saber and chopped this kind of wolf that did not have a high number into two. "Help! Help!" At this moment, a young man's voice came from behind them. Du Xiongwu and the group stopped. Soon, the young man who was shouting appeared in front of Du Xiongwu and the group. Behind this young man was a young woman who was carrying a little girl of about 10 years old on her back. Behind the young woman, two blackback wolves suddenly jumped up and pounced on the woman who was carrying the little girl. Seeing the blackback wolves pouncing on her, the little girl screamed in fear. The woman who was carrying the little girl heard the sound of the wind behind her and jumped away with all her might. Bang! Bang! The two blackback wolves missed their target. This young woman was obviously an enhancer. She had great strength and speed, surpassing that of an ordinary person. However, from the way she moved, it was obvious that she was not a martial artist. Du Xiongwu and the group turned around and saw this scene. "Big brother, wait for us!" The young man who was shouting saw Du Xiongwu and the group and shouted in surprise. It had been more than 10 days since the plane crash, and more than 10 days since the pilot left the grassland and headed south towards Black Rock City. In the past 10 days or so, this group of people had encountered packs of wolves and many exotic beasts. More than half of them had died, and now there were less than 10 people left. During their escape, Du Xiongwu's family was fine. That was because Du Xiongwu was a level 6 martial artist, and no exotic beasts above level 6 appeared along the way. Every time an exotic beast blocked their path, they would be killed by the brothers Du Xiongwu, Du Cheng, and Dewey. Among the 37 people, Du Xiongwu was the strongest warrior. Everyone followed behind Du Xiongwu. Du Xiongwu's two sons were both level 4 martial artists. Du Mei was also a level 2 martial artist. Du Xiongwu carried Zhu Shaoqing on his back and moved forward. The family moved very quickly and soon left a large group of people behind them. From Du Xiongwu's point of view, they had no obligation to protect this group of people. They even found the people behind them troublesome. Du Xiongwu furrowed his brows. This young man was too noisy. Shouting in the forest was an act of seeking death. It would only attract more exotic beasts. The young man ran happily in front of Du Xiongwu and the rest, but his head was chopped off by Du Cheng. How annoying! After Du Cheng killed the young man, he spat on the ground. At this moment, the young woman carrying the little girl turned to the other side. Two blackback wolves pounced on Du Cheng and were easily killed by Du Cheng. At this time, Du Xiongwu raised his flashlight and scanned the young man's body and the 3 wolf corpses. His eyes were cold as he said to Du Cheng, "Let's go. I estimate that your second uncle will be here in a day or 2. Du Cheng nodded, and Du Xiongwu's family continued forward. As for the pitiful young woman carrying the little girl, they didn't care about her at all. "Sister, they are martial artists. Why didn't they protect us?" After resolving the crisis, the little girl looked at the headless corpse of the young man in the darkness and asked her sister. The young woman gritted her teeth and turned her head. She whispered to the little girl on her back, "They're the bad guys among the martial artists." Although Du Xiongwu's group wanted to kill them, the young woman thought for a moment and decided to follow behind Du Xiongwu's group. However, she stayed a little far away and didn't dare to shout like the young man from before. That was because the path Du Xiongwu's group took had very few exotic beasts. The path forward was the safest. To the sisters, Du Xiongwu's group was like a street sweeper. After a few hours, the sky finally brightened. There were no exotic beasts in the surroundings. Du Xiongwu's family finally stopped and started cooking. The young woman carrying the little girl saw the rising black smoke in front of them and knew that Du Xiongwu's group had stopped. She finally let out a sigh of relief. After more than 10 days of fleeing, Du Xiongwu's family was in a very sorry state. Their clothes were tattered and dirty. Only Zhu Shaoqing was in a better state. That was because Du Xiongwu had been carrying her on his back all this time. At this moment, she was sitting by the fire, combing her messy hair. The young woman approached Du Xiongwu's group about 50 meters away. She put down the little girl on her back. The two of them parted the bushes and looked at Du Xiongwu's family. The two brothers, Du Cheng and Dewey, were roasting exotic beast meat. Although they were dozens of meters away, the fragrance drifted over. The little girl couldn't help but swallow her saliva when she saw it. The two of them were staring at Du Xiongwu's family. Naturally, they were discovered by Du Xiongwu's group. Du Xiongwu only glanced at them and didn't say anything. At this moment, Dewey nudged Du Cheng, then stood up and said to Du Xiongwu, "Dad, I'm going to settle some personal matters." "I'm going too." At this moment, Du Cheng also stood up and said, "Don't go too far." Although we're not far from Black Rock City, there are still many exotic beasts in the forest. Du Xiongwu looked at the two brothers and said, sensing the excitement in his two sons' eyes, Du Xiongwu knitted his brows. He had already guessed what his two sons wanted to do, but he didn't stop them. The two brothers looked at each other and smiled excitedly. Then, they went into the forest together. "Sister, I'm so hungry." At this moment, the little girl opened her eyes wide and stared at the roasted meat that Du Xiongwu was turning. She licked her dry lips and said, "The elder sister said they'll be leaving soon. When they're done eating, there'll definitely be some left." The younger sister nodded, still staring at the roasted meat. A few minutes later, the two sisters were staring at the roasted meat in front of them. Suddenly, two pairs of hands reached out from behind them and covered their mouths, dragging them back. Woo-woo. The two sisters kept struggling, but the ones holding them down were Du Xiong and Dewey. Both of them were level 4 fighters. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't break free. The two sisters let out woo-woo sounds. They could only see the trees around them moving quickly. A few minutes later, they stopped. "Save!" The moment Du Cheng let go of his hands, the elder sister screamed. However, just as she made a sound, Du Cheng knocked her unconscious with a palm strike. Hee. Looking at the young woman who had collapsed in his arms, Du Cheng laughed lewdly. "Sister." Seeing her elder sister knocked unconscious, the little girl's eyes widened and she screamed in shock. Dewey stuffed a rag of cloth into the little girl's mouth. Then, he pulled out a few rattan vines and tied the little girl up in a few moves. Woo-woo-woo. The little girl cried and let out woo-woo sounds. She struggled with all her might, but she couldn't break free. In front of the little girl, Du Cheng and Dewey looked at each other and started tearing off the clothes on the young woman's body. Chapter 97. Did someone call for help just now? Dumei looked in the direction of the voice and asked curiously. Du Xiongwu didn't say anything and only shook his head helplessly. His two sons were really disappointing. How could they still have the time to play with women at a time like this? Zhu Shaoqing combed her hair and said, "I guess your two brothers went to look for that woman. She's been following us for so long, and we don't know what she's up to. It's good to get rid of them." "That's not good, right?" Dumei frowned. She knew what her two brothers were like. As for those two sisters, they had been following them all this time. How could they have any ulterior motives? They were only following them because they didn't want to encounter any exotic beasts. They were just looking for protection. As Dumei spoke, she stood up and wanted to see what was going on. However, Zhu Shaoqing said, "Sit down. Don't bother about them. Those two people are following us. Who knows how many exotic beasts they'll attract." Dumei sat down helplessly. In Tianxiong City, Du Xiongwu's family would still pay attention to their image. Sometimes, they would even participate in some charity events and donate some money to save face. However, the family's indifference to other people's lives was finally exposed. Yang Tian carried a huge backpack and moved forward in the forest. Every few kilometers, he would look at his martial arts assistant's device to check his current location. This was to ensure that he didn't stray too far from the route. Little Unicorn still didn't know how to fly and followed behind Yang Tian. As for the little blue dragon, It had already run ahead to help Yang Tian search for exotic beasts that might appear nearby. Yang Tian could sense the little blue dragon's current location. It was a few kilometers north. After a few days of rapid travel, Yang Tian had already passed Black Rock City and was heading north. After a few hundred kilometers, he would reach the grasslands. In fact, the area hundreds of kilometers around Black Rock City used to be a large grassland. In the past 100 years, trees had grown at an insane rate, turning the original grassland into a forest. Yang Tian stopped. He took out the map from his pocket and looked at it. He muttered to himself, 5 kilometers ahead and 50 kilometers to the south. There's a red circle here, a level 8 exotic beast. Yang Tian had never encountered a level 8 exotic beast before. When the time came, he would kill the level 8 exotic beast and obtain its beast core. Coupled with the power of the Dragon Ball, his strength would be equivalent to a level 9 martial artist. That day, when he fought with Du Xiongwu under the state of LV9, to Yang Tian, that feeling was too wonderful. Go. Let's keep going. Yang Tian excitedly patted little Du Jiao's neck and said with a smile. Du Cheng tore off the young woman's clothes, revealing her pink bra. Dewey, on the other hand, had already taken off the young woman's jeans. The young woman was an enhancer. Her figure was very good. After half a month of fleeing, the young woman's face and hair were covered in mud. The original color of her skin could not be seen. But now, the young woman's skin was exposed. It was very white. Only her underwear was left. Du Cheng and Dewey stopped. Their eyes were filled with excitement. Woo-woo. When the little girl saw Du Cheng and Dewey tearing off her sister's clothes, she knew what they wanted to do. She struggled with all her strength again. Her mouth made woo-woo sounds, and tears flowed down uncontrollably. Cough, cough. Finally, the little girl spat out the ragged cloth in her mouth and coughed. Du Cheng and Dewey turned their heads to look at the little girl. Seeing that the rot tan on the little girl's body had not loosened, they turned their heads back and looked at the unconscious young woman with a lewd smile. The two of them had not touched a woman for a long time. At this time, they were extremely eager. Looking at the half-naked woman's body, their faces turned red, and their breathing became rapid. You don't hurt my sister, I beg you. Woo-woo. The little girl knew that it was useless to shout for help at this time. She begged the two of them. Du Cheng and Dewey did not even turn their heads. They simply ignored the little girl. We are warriors, the hope of mankind, the spirit of warriors, bravery, aggressiveness, integrity, fearlessness. We do not bully the weak. For the sake of mankind's reproduction, we are willing to sacrifice ourselves. The clever little girl began to talk intermittently about the speech of a warrior when warriors were just born. This warrior's name was Yang Yu, the same surname as Yang Tian. This speech spoke of the spirit of martial artists. In the next decade or so, martial artists were inspired by this spirit. They paid great sacrifices and opened up safe zones one after another, building cities after cities. Humanity could finally settle down. But unfortunately, after a few decades, very few people remembered the spirit of warriors. Bravery, aggressiveness, integrity, fearlessness, not bullying the weak, having the spirit of self-sacrifice. Du Cheng and Dewey were about to remove the underwear on the young woman's body. When they heard the little girl's sobbing words, they stopped, frowned, and turned around. The spirit of warriors was hanging in Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. But how many of the current martial artists could still remember it? When the two of them heard the little girl's words, they felt that it was extremely harsh. "Pa!" Dewey walked in front of the little girl, squatted down, and slapped the little girl. The little girl was slapped to the ground by Dewey. She was dizzy, blood flowed out of her mouth and nose, and half of her cheeks swelled. Damn it, what a disappointment. Wait until your sister, then it will be your turn. Just treat it as the protection fee that you two sisters have paid for these 10 days. Dewey looked at the little girl on the ground and sneered. Warriors? Warriors are not like this. The little girl was already very weak, and her mouth was emitting an inaudible sound. How could beasts understand human language when they try to reason with them? Brother, you go first. Dewey stood up and smiled at Du Cheng. Hee. Du Cheng nodded and laughed lewdly. What the two of them didn't know was that on a big tree next to them, there was a little blue dragon lying on its stomach. The little blue dragon had just arrived here when it heard the little girl say the spirit of warriors. It had also heard this from Yang Tian. The little blue dragon's intelligence was no different from that of humans. It naturally knew that Du Cheng and Dewey were hurting the two weak women in the eyes of warriors. Looking at Du Cheng and Dewey's behavior, the little blue dragon's eyes were full of coldness. When Du Cheng helped the young woman up and was about to unbutton her bra, suddenly, the little blue dragon moved. A green shadow flashed and passed in front of Du Cheng's eyes. Du Cheng only saw a flash of green light, and then there was darkness in front of him. Then there was the sharp pain of his eyeballs being scratched and bursting. Dewey was not spared. When he noticed the green light passing by his brother, he thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He raised his hand and was about to rub his eyes when a green light flashed in front of him. At that moment, Dewey and Du Cheng also heard the sound of their eyeballs bursting. Chapter 98. On my eyes. My eyes. Du Cheng and Dewey covered their eyes and screamed in pain. Their ear-piercing screams spread far and wide. Their eyes were scratched and blood flowed out from between Du Cheng and Dewey's hands. When they let go of their hands, their originally bright eyes had become two bloody holes. It looked very frightening. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon didn't intend to let the two of them off so easily. It let out two angry cries, and its small body moved. It turned into a green shadow and revolved around Du Cheng and Dewey's bodies. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Every time the green shadow flashed by, Du Cheng and Dewey's bodies would have an additional wound. The angry little blue dragon didn't want to kill Du Cheng and Dewey immediately. It kept scratching the two of them with its sharp claws, as if it wanted to kill them with 1,000 cuts. Du Cheng and Dewey couldn't see and could only run around in pain. They covered their eyes and screamed in pain. Their screams were naturally heard by Du Xiongwu, Zhu Shaoqing, and Du Mei, who weren't far away. Previously, they heard the young woman's cries for help but didn't do anything. Now that they heard Du Cheng and Dewey's screams, they immediately stood up. Xiao Mei, protect your mother. I'll go take a look, Du Xiongwu said anxiously. He grabbed the knife beside him and ran in the direction of screams. The little blue dragon naturally sensed Du Xiongwu's arrival. It immediately jumped onto a branch of a big tree and hid in the dense foliage. When Du Xiongwu arrived, Du Cheng and Dewey were rolling on the ground in pain. Weak screams came from their mouths. Next to them was a young woman who was about to be stripped naked and an unconscious little girl. Du Xiongwu only glanced at the young woman and the little girl before turning his attention to his two sons. Du Cheng and Dewey were covered in wounds. Large amounts of blood flowed out from their wounds, dyeing the ground red. The wounds on their bodies were obviously caused by the claws of exotic beasts. Luckily, these wounds were only superficial and not deep. With a warrior's strong recovery ability, they would recover very quickly with simple bandages. Cheng Weiya, Du Xiongwu called out with a frown after seeing their injuries. Although it was very painful, Du Cheng and Dewey were no longer afraid when they heard Du Xiongwu's voice. They curled up their bodies and slowly calmed down. Because their bodies were in great pain, their bodies were trembling nonstop. They looked even more pitiful than the unconscious sisters. Du Xiongwu looked around vigilantly. He bit the knife in his hand and held Du Xiong and Dewey under his armpits, one in each hand, and quickly left this place. The little blue dragon jumped down from the tree at this moment and arrived in front of the little girl. The little girl's long eyelashes were trembling. She was in a semi-conscious state. The little blue dragon used its claws to scratch the little girl's swollen cheeks. The little girl still didn't wake up. Gigi, the little blue dragon, shook its head, then let out a piercing cry in the direction of Yang Tian. Yang Tian, who was moving forward quickly, suddenly heard the little blue dragon's cry. The little blue dragon wanted him to hurry over. Something must have happened. Yang Tian immediately increased his speed and moved forward at the same speed as when he was fighting. More than 10 minutes later, seeing the half-naked woman lying on the ground and the little girl bound by vines, Yang Tian's brows furrowed tightly. This situation was obviously man-made. Yang Tian went forward and cut off the vines on the little girl's body with a few slashes, then helped the little girl up. Yang Tian gritted his teeth when he saw the little girl's swollen cheeks and the clear fingerprints on them. He also saw the blood at the corner of the little girl's mouth and nostrils. He thought to himself, how could someone do such a thing to such a young child? If I meet the culprit, I'll definitely chop off their hands. The little girl's situation wasn't very good. Yang Tian touched the little girl's forehead. It was already burning up. Although she had a fever just now, Yang Tian's sharp sense of touch could detect it. What should I do? Yang Tian didn't bring any anti-inflammatory medicine when he went out this time. With his current physique, even if he was injured, ordinary medicine wouldn't have any effect on his body. That's right. Yang Tian suddenly remembered that he still had the beast core. Yang Tian put down the backpack behind him and took out a level 1 beast core. Looking at the level 1 beast core in his hand, Yang Tian hesitated. Because the little girl was still young and her body hadn't matured yet, he didn't know if she could withstand the energy of the beast core. What about half of it? No. The structure of a beast core was very complicated. It contained many kinds of rare substances that were not evenly distributed. If he only used a part of the beast core, he might not be able to achieve the strengthening effect. What if he crushed it? Yang Tian didn't have any tools at the moment. The little blue dragon lay on the side and stared curiously at Yang Tian. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Tian still put the beast core into the little girl's mouth. If it didn't do anything, the little girl would definitely die. After swallowing the beast core, there was still a chance of survival. Next, he just had to wait quietly. After gently putting the little girl on the ground, Yang Tian walked a few steps and came in front of the young woman. He squatted down and helped the young woman up, wanted to see if she was injured. He didn't expect that, just as he helped the woman up, the young woman raised her hand and slapped Yang Tian. Yang Tian raised his hand and caught her hand. The young woman had already opened her eyes, but they were still a little confused. Yang Tian immediately let go of the young woman and dodged to the side. Who are you? The young woman sat up and was dazed for a moment before coming to her senses. She found Yang Tian very unfamiliar and asked nervously. Yang Tian smiled and said, "My name is Yang Tian. Who brought you here? It seems that little. I came just in time." Only then did the young woman react. She found that her body was cold and she was only wearing underwear. She couldn't help but panic and hugged her chest with both hands. Then, she put one hand down and covered between her thighs. Yang Tian took out a white t-shirt from his backpack and threw it to the young woman. Then, he turned around. In less than a minute, the young woman had put on the t-shirt that Yang Tian gave her in her own jeans. Then, she ran to the little girl and checked on her condition. After the young woman found that the little girl was fine, she heaved a sigh of relief. She gently shook the little girl and called out softly, "Little sister, little sister." This young woman was an enhancer, but she was not a martialist who had trained in combat techniques. Yang Tian was able to deduce this from her strength and movements. She was severely injured and has a fever. I didn't bring any medicine, so I could only feed her a level 1 beast core. I hope she's fine. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he sighed. Beast core. After hearing Yang Tian's words, the young woman was very surprised, because to her, a beast core was very precious. As an enhancer, the young woman understood that a level 1 beast core was worth millions of martial coins. She didn't expect Yang Tian to use a level 1 beast core to save her little sister. Moreover, from Yang Tian's tone, it seemed like he didn't care about the beast core. Chapter 99. My name is Su Jiao. She's my younger sister, Su Fengrong. Yang Tian was checking on the little girl's condition when the young woman beside him said plainly. Yang Tian nodded, knowing the sisters' names. Su Fengrong's body was starting to heat up. From Yang Tian's experience, this wasn't a fever caused by an injury, but the beast core's effects. Sha sha sha. At this moment, the sound of branches and twigs being stepped on came from the forest nearby. Su Jiao looked in the direction of the sound with a vigilant expression. This was clearly not the sound of humans walking, but the footsteps of exotic beasts. Su Jiao looked at Yang Tian. Yang Tian's expression was very calm. "There's an exotic beast coming," Su Jiao reminded Yang Tian. After walking in the forest for half a month, Su Jiao's nerves were already very sensitive. Yang Tian looked at the nervous Su Jiao and smiled, saying, "It's my girlfriend's pet beast." Su Jiao finally relaxed after hearing Yang Tian's words. A moment later, a white Pegasus appeared before Su Jiao's eyes. Seeing the white Pegasus, Su Jiao was very surprised. She couldn't help but widen her eyes. If it was any other exotic beast, Su Jiao wouldn't find it strange, but a Pegasus. To Su Jiao, it was a little inconceivable. In Su Jiao's eyes, this Pegasus was very beautiful. Its entire body was as white as snow, and it had a jade-like horn on its head. The feathers on its wings were also white and shiny. It was really too beautiful. Su Jiao sighed in her heart. We Orientals call it a Pegasus, while Westerners call it a unicorn. Yang Tian looked at the little unicorn and said with a smile. Yang Tian's speed was very fast earlier and had left the little unicorn behind. Only now did the little unicorn catch up. In fact, it had only been less than 10 minutes. When the little unicorn saw Yang Tian, it flapped its wings and walked in front of Yang Tian. It rubbed its face against Yang Tian's waist, looking very intimate. Yang Tian patted little unicorn's head and looked into Su Jiao's eyes as he asked, "None of you are warriors. Why are you here?" Su Jiao replied, "My sister and I were originally living in Black Rock City, and we're going to Wulan City to look for Big Brother. Unexpectedly, not long after the plane took off, it malfunctioned and was forced to land on the grassland. Then, we encountered a pack of wolves." Su Jiao held his unconscious sister in his arms and told her what had happened in the past half a month. After Su Jiao finished speaking, Yang Tian clenched his fist and asked, "What about the other two?" To be able to subdue a strengthened woman, the other party was obviously a warrior. Furthermore, they were at least level 2 or above. Yang Tian hated it when warriors used their own strength to bully ordinary people who had no martial arts. Su Jiao shook her head. "You two stay here and don't go anywhere. I'll go take a look." As Yang Tian spoke, he walked towards the bushes with his saber. "Don't leave." Seeing that Yang Tian was about to leave, Su Jiao hurriedly said, "If you leave, what if we meet another mutated beast?" After speaking, Su Jiao pointed at the bloodstains on the ground. Yang Tian knew what Su Jiao meant. The smell of blood here would definitely attract mutated beasts. "Don't worry, I'll be back soon. As long as it stays here, you don't have to be afraid." Yang Tian looked at Su Jiao and patted Little Unicorn's head. Little Unicorn snorted and used its front hooves to paw the ground, as if to show off how powerful it was. It was now a level 3 mutated beast. This place was not far from Black Rock City, so there were very few high-level mutated beasts. Little Unicorn could intimidate those low-level mutated beasts. Along the way, Yang Tian rarely encountered low-level mutated beasts. This was because Little Unicorn did not know how to conceal its aura and scared away the surrounding low-level mutated beasts. Su Jiao could not change Yang Tian's mind. She could only watch as Yang Tian left and entered the bushes at the side. After walking for a short distance, the little blue dragon appeared and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. "Squeak, squeak, squeak." Little blue dragon told Yang Tian what had happened and that those people had already left. "Chase." Yang Tian narrowed his eyes and said coldly. "Squeak, squeak." Little blue dragon cried out excitedly and jumped to the ground. It ran towards the south and led the way for Yang Tian. Yang Tian still did not know that the people he was chasing were Du Xiongwu's family. While Yang Tian was treating Su Fengrong's injuries, Du Cheng and Dui's injuries were also simply bandaged. When Du Xiongwu heard the brothers say that they hadn't seen the exotic beast that had injured them clearly, and only knew that it was a very small exotic beast, Du Xiongwu knitted his brows and began to worry. His two sons were both level 4 warriors. To be able to claw the two brothers blind in an instant, this small mutated beast was at least level 5 or above. Du Xiongwu was now a level 6 warrior. If it wasn't for his wife and children by his side, he wouldn't be worried. But now, for the safety of his wife and children, he had to leave this place immediately. Before setting off, Du Xiongwu used his warrior auxiliary device to inform his younger brother, Du Xiongwen. When he learned that Du Xiongwen had already passed Wulan City and would be arriving soon, he finally relaxed. As long as they could hold on for another hour or two, Du Xiongwen would arrive. At that time, even if they encountered a level 8 mutated beast, they wouldn't have to worry. Du Xiongwu's group walked very slowly with his two injured sons. Pooh! Pung! Pooh! Suddenly, Du Xiongwu heard a rhythmic sound coming from behind him. This was obviously the sound of a warrior bouncing. In the past, when Du Xiongwu was active in the forest, it was the same when he was rushing through the forest. To be able to move through the forest in this way, it was at least a level 8 warrior. Could it be that his younger brother, Du Xiongwen, had come? Du Xiongwu stopped. Soon, the newcomer appeared in front of them. Pong! In Du Xiongwu's eyes, Yang Tian's figure flashed and landed more than 10 meters in front of them. After Yang Tian landed, he squatted down to dissipate the force of his fall. After landing, he slowly raised his head and looked at Du Xiongwu with a smile. Yang Tian! Zhu Xiaoqing cried out in shock when she saw Yang Tian's face. Yang Tian also didn't expect to meet Du Xiongwu's family so soon. This was too much of a coincidence, as if it was specially arranged by the heavens. He stood up and looked at the two brothers, Du Cheng and Dewey. The two of them had white gauze wrapped around their heads and covered their eyes. Blood was seeping out of the white gauze where their eyes were. Seeing the two brothers, Yang Tian knew that he had found the right people. I don't know how you educate your children. Each one is worse than the other. The last one wanted to snatch someone else's belongings, and these two actually bullied the weak. They really deserve to end up like this. However, just being blind is not enough to atone for their sins. Yang Tian looked at Du Xiongwu's family and said indifferently. Yang Tian had just learned from Su Jiao that Du Cheng and Dewey had killed many innocent people in the past half a month, and the excuse was that they were annoyed by people following them. What are you doing? When Zhu Xiaoqing saw that Yang Tian had finished speaking, a cold glint flashed across her eyes. She quickly spread out her arms and stood in front of her two sons to protect them. Bang! Who hiss? Yang Tian stomped his feet on the ground, and his body moved with a strong wind. At the same time, he unsheathed his long sword and turned into two white lines flashing. No! Du Xiongwu was shocked and wanted to stop him, but it was too late. Before he could finish his sentence, Yang Tian had already stopped behind them. Woo-woo! Du Cheng and Dewey suddenly covered their necks, and blood spurted out from their fingers. They fell to the ground and kept moaning and twitching. Seeing this, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Xiaoqing both opened their mouths wide and were stunned for a moment. Chapter 100. Zhu Xiaoqing looked at her two sons lying on the ground and was horrified. It took her a long time to recover. She squatted down and shook Du Cheng, then looked at Dewey. Both of them were dead and motionless. Only the blood was still flowing out of their necks. She suddenly screamed and fainted. Mom! Du Mei screamed and quickly helped Zhu Xiaoqing up. From the beginning to the end, martial artist Du Xiong looked at Yang Tian coldly and tightened his grip on the saber in his hand. Gee! Yang Tian put the knife back into its sheath and turned to leave. Since Du Cheng and Dewey had done evil, it was fine to kill them. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Xiaoqing, as well as their daughter Du Mei, had not done anything out of line. Perhaps they had done so in the past. Yang Tian did not know. Yang Tian did not intend to kill them. This was the principle in Yang Tian's heart. Seeing that Yang Tian was about to leave, Du Xiongwu gritted his teeth and shouted coldly, "Stop right there." Yang Tian stopped and turned around. You killed 3 of my sons? 3 of my sons. This hatred is absolutely irreconcilable. Do you want to leave just like that? Du Xiongwu raised his knife and pointed it at Yang Tian, gnashing his teeth. You are no match for me. Yang Tian looked at Du Xiongwu and said lightly, You did not teach your sons well. They killed many innocent people. You know it in your heart. Your 2 sons should be killed. Du Xiongwu said, It is not up to you to decide whether they should be killed or not. Even if they slaughtered a city, what does it have to do with you? What does it have to do with me? Yang Tian sneered and said, The martial artists in this world are becoming more and more unbridled. Someone has to take care of them. Otherwise, if martial artists could kill people at will and treat ordinary humans like cattle and horses, treating them like ants, then wouldn't the world be in chaos? Naturally, there will be people in charge within the city. If there is no one outside the city, then I will. Yang Tian's intention was very clear. He wanted to meddle in this business. What would you do about it? Most importantly, Yang Tian now had the strength to do so. When Yang Tian said this, he also had some feelings in his heart. In the early days of martial artists, the spirit of martial artists was widespread. It was rare for martial artists to bully the weak. Now, however, such occurrences were common outside the safety zone. Once ordinary people left the safety zone, the biggest threat to them was not exotic beasts, but their own kind. It was fine if Yang Tian didn't see this kind of thing, but since he saw it, he had to intervene. Du Xiongwu sneered. You say it so righteously, but you still want to take revenge for your personal grudge. According to the rules of martial artists, no matter what the reason is, if you kill someone, you have to hand over your weapon and accept the investigation of the martial artist committee. Will you go? Yang Tian shook his head. Of course I won't go, because the martial artist committee is also rotten. There is no fairness there. Actually, if I really go, they will ignore your complaint on account of me being a level 8 martial artist. Do you believe it? With Yang Tian's question, Du Xiongwu was speechless. For the first time, Du Xiongwu felt the feeling of being bullied. This feeling was really unbearable. Your son is human, but others aren't? If the upper beam is not straight, the lower beam will be crooked. I don't believe that you didn't know what your 2 sons were going to do to the sisters. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he turned around and was about to leave again. I'll kill you. When Yang Tian turned around, Du Xiongwu raised his saber and rushed towards Yang Tian, slashing towards Yang Tian's head. Although Du Xiongwu's martial artist level had dropped to level 6, his combat experience was still there. His speed was very fast, and the sound of the wind was very small. In the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Yang Tian. Pum! At this moment, Yang Tian turned around fiercely. The saber was unsheathed, and the handle of the saber hit Du Xiongwu's chest, sending Du Xiongwu flying. Du Xiongwu flipped in the air and landed on the ground. Then, he retreated a few steps before holding his chest and stabilizing his body. Now, Du Xiongwu and Yang Tian's strength were very different. There was a gap of 1 realm. He was defeated by Yang Tian in 1 move. After Du Xiongwu stopped, he was a little dejected. Before, he was still a level 8 martial artist, the owner of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall, and the target of everyone's flattery. But now, he was like a drowning dog. Why did it become like this? Du Xiongwu couldn't understand. Screech, at this moment, a shrill eagle cry sounded in the sky. When he heard the cry of the eagle, Du Xiongwu's expression flickered, and he looked up into the sky. Suddenly, he began to laugh, and tears began to stream down his cheeks. Seeing Du Xiongwu crying with joy, Yang Tian knew that Du Xiongwu had come. That's good. Last time, I was almost defeated by Du Xiongwu and almost killed by him. This time, I can take revenge for that punch. Soon, a huge black eagle flew over, circled a few times above Yang Tian's position, and then swooped down. Whoosh! With a strong wind, the black eagle landed on the ground. Then, a tall and thin man jumped down from the back of the black eagle. Du Xiongwu. Seeing the man who jumped down from the back of the black eagle, Yang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly. Go! After jumping down from the eagle's back, Du Xiongwu looked at Yang Tian, patted the back of the black eagle, and said. The huge black eagle's legs kicked, flapped its wings, and flew into the air. After the black eagle flew away, Du Xiongwu pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose and looked at Yang Tian. The corner of his mouth curled up. This was not a sneer, but a smile with a hint of surprise. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing, who was strongly stimulated, woke up. With the help of Du Mei, she walked to Du Xiongwen's side. She pointed at Yang Tian and said, "Xiongwen, kill him. He killed Xiao Cheng and Xiao Wei." After Zhu Shaoqing shouted, Du Xiongwen frowned. He had just arrived and did not know that his two nephews were killed by Yang Tian. Including Du Feng, all three nephews were killed by Yang Tian. Yang Tian, why did you do this? Du Xiongwen was different from Du Xiongwu. At least, he was more upright than Du Xiongwu. He looked at Yang Tian and asked in a dissatisfied tone. Yang Tian said lightly, "They bullied the weak. You can ask your brother, Du Cheng and Dewey, what did they do?" "Humph." Zhu Shaoqing snorted coldly and said with a sneer, "What does it have to do with you, who my son kills? Those people followed us and attracted a lot of exotic beasts. Is it wrong for Xiao Cheng and Xiao Wei to kill them?" After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, Yang Tian laughed and looked at Du Xiongwen, saying, "Listen to your sister-in-law's words. What do you think? You treat human lives like dirt. I finally understand now." Du Xiongwen turned around and looked at Zhu Shaoqing with a frown. Du Xiongwen was actually a little dissatisfied with his brother's family. He could not stand some of their actions, so he spent a lot of time away from home. However, Du Cheng and Dewey were his nephews after all. He had no choice but to take action. This was the second time. The first time, Du Xiongwen wanted to kill Yang Tian, but Qin Lao stopped him and prevented him from returning to Tianxiong City. This time, Yang Tian was already a level 8 martial artist. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and felt that things had changed with the passage of time. I've seen all the comments from my readers. Be it good or bad, I'm very grateful to all of you. Really, at least I know that everyone is reading my book. Thank you for your support. As for the updates, I'll make it a minimum of 6,000 words before it's published. I'll try my best to update 10,000 words after it's published. If the subscriptions are good, I'll work full-time and update more every day. Chapter 101. Du Xiongwen glanced at his brother Du Xiongwu, then turned his head and said to Yang Tian, "If you can defeat me, I will not pursue this matter from now on." Yang Tian nodded and pulled out the saber in his hand. Last time, when he faced Yang Tian did not even use a weapon and defeated Yang Tian with a single punch. This time, Du Xiongwu pulled out two short sabers that were more than a foot long from his waist. Du Xiongwu gave Zhu Shaoqing a look, and the couple retreated. They stood aside and watched Du Xiongwen and Yang Tian nervously. They naturally hoped that Du Xiongwen would kill Yang Tian. However, Yang Tian's current strength was equivalent to a level 8 martial artist and was not that easy to kill. Facing a level 8 martial artist, Du Xiongwen, Yang Tian's expression turned solemn. If he did not use his secret technique, his strength would not be much stronger than Du Xiongwen's. Pong! Suddenly, Du Xiongwen moved. His feet stepped on the ground, and a cloud of black mud splashed out. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of Yang Tian. Clang clang. Yang Tian quickly retreated a few steps. The long saber in his hand collided with Du Xiongwen's sabers in an instant, producing two metallic clangs. The powerful collision caused both of them to fly back at the same time. "What about your previous saber?" Du Xiongwen asked after retreating. Although he was talking, Du Xiongwen's movements did not stop. The two short sabers in his hand turned into a white glow and enveloped Yang Tian. Pung pung. The collision of the weapons this time was even stronger than before. The weapons vibrated rapidly, shaking the air and producing explosive sounds. The two separated again. At this time, Yang Tian finally had the chance to speak. He said indifferently, "As you wish." Du Xiongwen had a deep impression of Yang Tian's saber last time. He remembered that a white line suddenly appeared in the snow. In his vision, the white line cut countless snowflakes in half, but the snowflakes did not scatter. Its cutting power was too strong. Although Du Xiongwu could dodge that saber, he flew back because he was too curious about that saber. Before Yang Tian's voice died away, he had already appeared in front of Du Xiongwen. The saber in his hand turned into a messy net made of countless white lines and enveloped Du Xiongwen. At this time, a fallen leaf happened to fall between Yang Tian and Du Xiongwen. Du Xiongwen saw Yang Tian's saber vibrate a few times, and the leaf was cut a few times. Strangely, the leaf was still fluttering with the wind. Yang Tian's saber did not seem to come into contact with the leaf. Snow slashing saber. This was Yang Tian's self-created saber technique. After leaving Tianxiong City, Yang Tian continued to practice his saber technique every day. Now his snow slashing saber technique was almost mature. Facing this saber, Du Xiongwen's eyes widened. He did not dare to take it head-on. His body moved, and he retreated. At this time, the leaf that Yang Tian had cut a few times scattered into dozens of small pieces and was swept away by the wind. Du Xiongwen retreated, but Yang Tian did not stop. The saber in his hand was like snow, relentlessly chasing after Du Xiongwen. Du Xiongwen was shocked. He sped up his retreat and suddenly crashed into a big tree. Bang! With a loud sound, Du Xiongwen's body crashed into the big tree. The tree shook violently, and a large number of leaves fluttered down. Hiss! Du Xiongwen, who was blocked by the big tree, was about to dodge when Yang Tian's saber arrived. He only heard the sound of the saber cutting through the air. Then he felt a chill on his neck. Yang Tian's saber was already resting on Du Xiongwen's shoulder. What a fast saber! Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and smiled. He was not worried about his life at all. In fact, the two of them hadn't even fought for a minute before Du Xiongwen was defeated. Du Xiongwen's martial arts were actually weaker than Du Xiongwu's back then. Du Xiongwu's moves were very strange and fast. In addition, Yang Tian was worried that there was poison on his saber, so he could not use his full strength. In addition, Yang Tian's saber technique had reached a higher level than before. All these factors combined allowed him to defeat Du Xiongwen in such a short time. During this process, Du Xiongwen could not even think of resisting Yang Tian's saber. He could only keep retreating until he could no longer retreat. Yang Tian's saber was the snow slashing saber. He practiced his saber in the snow, and the snowflakes floating down from the sky were endless. Yang Tian nodded and withdrew his saber. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian and asked, "Why is your saber so fast? And its cutting power is also very strong." "Because when I use my saber, I try my best to make the saber vibrate as little as possible. That way, the cutting power of the saber will be greater. Not only that, the saber has to be as fast as possible." Yang Tian explained his saber technique. "You're right, but in this world, how many warriors can do that?" After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, he sighed and asked again, "Why didn't you kill me?" Yang Tian laughed. "Because there's no need." Although Du Xiongwen and Du Xiongwu were brothers, the two of them were very different. Yang Tian at least felt a warrior's boldness and a little bit of a warrior's spirit from Du Xiongwen. Therefore, Yang Tian did not want to kill Du Xiongwen. Yang Tian glanced at Du Xiongwu, put away his saber, turned and left. Soon, he disappeared from the eyes of Du Xiongwen and Du Xiongwu. It's true that the new generation excels the old. Snow slashing saber technique. Fast, swift and fierce. Such a fierce saber technique, what a pity. After Yang Tian left, Du Xiongwen thought about it and muttered to himself. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing came forward, looked at Du Xiongwen, and said in a blaming tone, "Xiongwen, why didn't you kill him?" Du Xiongwen looked at Zhu Shaoqing and said helplessly, "I can't beat him. It's good that he didn't kill me." Zhu Shaoqing shook her head. "Impossible. You must have gone easy on him for the outcome to be decided so quickly. You have to know that Xiao Cheng, Xiao Wei, and Xiao Feng are all your nephews. You have to avenge them." "Stop." Du Xiongwen raised his hand to interrupt Zhu Shaoqing and said, "First, I really can't beat him. Second, as for this revenge, I just told Yang Tian that as long as he beats me, I won't pursue it. This is a warrior's promise." When Du Xiongwen said this, his body exuded a fierce aura, which scared Zhu Shaoqing a few steps back. "Xiongwen, you're too honest, Du Xiongwu sighed and said helplessly. Du Xiongwen ignored his brother and Zhu Shaoqing and waved to Du Mei. Xiao Mei, come here. Second uncle. Du Mei came over. Du Xiongwen looked at Du Mei and said, in the future, you will follow second uncle. Second uncle. Du Mei turned to look at her parents and hesitated. At this time, Du Xiongwu said, go. It's good for you to follow second uncle. Du Mei nodded. Xiongwen, are we just going to give up on our revenge? Zhu Shaoqing didn't give up and asked while gritting her teeth. Du Xiongwen didn't answer her, but said, I'll send you to Black Rock City first and charter a plane to Hero City. We'll talk about the future later. Chapter 102. When night fell, Yang Tian lit a bonfire. Due to her young age, Su Fengrong took a longer time to digest the energy from the beast cores. It had already been half a day, and she still hadn't woken up. What Yang Tian wasn't worried about was that Su Fengrong's face was no longer swollen, and her breathing had returned to normal. Her expression wasn't as nervous as before, and her furrowed brows were relaxed. She was like a little sleeping beauty. Su Jiao was hugging her sister and sitting by the bonfire, staring at Yang Tian as he roasted the meat. Today's experience was like a dream to Su Jiao. When she was dragged through the forest by Du Cheng, she was already in despair. She regretted it very much. If she had known earlier, she would have stayed far away. But now, the two sisters didn't have to worry about their own safety anymore. They were no longer afraid of exotic beasts that would suddenly appear, and at the same time, they were on guard against others. Little Unicorn was lying on the side, staring at the roasted meat with a greedy expression. It used to eat grass, but it liked the taste of roasted meat. Yang Tian thought that it had learned bad things from the little blue dragon. Yang Tian was focused on roasting the meat. Other than the crackling sound from the bonfire, the surroundings were silent. After a while, the meat was finally cooked. The fat dripped on a fire, making sizzling sounds. It's finally done, Yang Tian said with a smile. He moved the roasted meat away from the bonfire, then pulled out a brand new dagger from his waist. He cut a large piece of meat, pierced it with a metal skewer, and passed it to Su Jiao. Eat it while it's hot. This is green python meat. It tastes best when it's hot. It'll have a fishy smell when it's cold. It had been a long time since she had a full meal. Su Jiao put her sister down and let her lie on a piece of fur at the side. She took the roasted meat from Yang Tian and started eating. At first, because it was hot, she was very polite. Later on, when it became cold, she couldn't care less about her face and started eating in big mouthfuls. Yang Tian looked at Su Jiao wolfing down the meat and passed some water to her. Slow down, there's still a lot here. Don't choke. Ooh. Unexpectedly, Su Jiao suddenly threw down the roasted meat, covered her face, and cried. She had suffered too much in the past half a month. Now, she could finally cry to her heart's content. Yang Tian understood Su Jiao's current mood and didn't say anything to console her. He sliced off a large piece of roasted meat and tossed it to the little unicorn. The little unicorn opened its mouth and caught the roasted meat that was at least half a kilogram in weight. Then, he stood up and walked into a place where the light from the fire could not reach. Yang Tian knew that this guy must be trying to curry favor with the little blue dragon. He smiled and ate by himself. After crying for more than 10 minutes, Su Jiao finally stopped crying. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve and looked up at Yang Tian. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it. Yang Tian smiled. I understand. It's okay now. Are you still hungry? Hurry up and eat. Su Jiao looked at Yang Tian with gratitude and nodded. Sister. At this moment, Su Fengrong woke up. Seeing Su Jiao sitting beside her, she happily called out and sat up. Little sister, you're finally awake. That's great, Su Jiao said happily when she saw her sister wake up. Then, she hugged Su Fengrong in her arms. Sister, are you okay? I saw those two bad guys taking off your clothes. They're so bad, Su Fengrong said as she rested her head on Su Jiao's shoulder. Then, she broke away from her sister's embrace and looked at Yang Tian curiously. Sister, who is he? My name is Yang Tian. Yang Tian looked at Su Fongrong and smiled. You saved us. Su Fongrong blinked her big eyes and asked, what a smart little girl. Yang Tian thought, because Su Fongrong guessed what happened after he fainted so quickly. Yes, your sister wasn't bullied by the bad guys. I killed those too. Yang Tian nodded and said lightly, thank you. Su Fongrong nodded at Yang Tian. I will repay you in the future. Hearing Su Fongrong's words, Yang Tian laughed. How will you repay me? Su Fongrong tilted her head and thought for a while. Then she said seriously, when I grow up, I will marry you. Don't worry, I will be very beautiful. Ha ha. After Su Fongrong finished speaking, Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Yang Tian laughing, Su Fongrong pouted and said unhappily, what are you laughing at? I'm telling the truth. I've memorized your name and appearance. When I grow up, I will definitely find you. Yang Tian stopped laughing and said, I already have a girlfriend. When I find her, I will marry her. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Su Fongrong frowned. Her eyes kept rolling as if she was thinking about something. After a while, she said, then I will be your lover. Don't let your wife know. Too funny. Looking at Su Fongrong's serious expression, Yang Tian almost couldn't help but laugh again. He was afraid that he would make Su Fongrong unhappy, so he held back his laughter and said, let's talk about it when you grow up. Oomph. In the face of Yang Tian's perfunctory attitude, Su Fongrong snorted and turned her head away. Su Jiao looked at her sister, talking to Yang Tian, and couldn't help but laugh, but she didn't laugh out loud. Because she was very hungry, Su Fongrong smelled the aroma of barbecued meat. She turned her head and said to Yang Tian, I want to eat barbecued meat. Yang Tian nodded, cut a small piece, and handed it over. Woo-woo. At this time, Little Unicorn came out of the darkness and came in front of Yang Tian. It rubbed against Yang Tian and cried, you really deserve it. Yang Tian patted Little Unicorn's head, cut a piece of meat, and stuffed it into Little Unicorn's mouth. Little Unicorn was satisfied with the meat in its mouth and ran to the side to eat. Wow, what a beautiful Pegasus! Su Fongrong exclaimed with her eyes wide open. Girls were very fond of the snow-white Little Unicorn. Yang Tian was also very happy because he was even more certain that Qin Fei would like this unicorn. Su Fongrong stared at Little Unicorn for a while before asking Yang Tian, is its temper good? Can I go and touch it? Its temper is very good. It likes girls like you because it is also a girl. Yang Tian laughed. Su Fongrong rolled her eyes and asked Yang Tian for a piece of barbecued meat. She took the meat and walked towards Little Unicorn. It seemed like she wanted to use the meat to please Little Unicorn. Tomorrow, I will send you to Black Rock City. At this time, Yang Tian turned his head and looked at Su Jiao and said. Su Jiao hesitated for a while, but said, we don't have money to buy plane tickets. Su Jiao said and lowered her head in embarrassment. Aren't you an enhancer? Yang Tian asked. In Yang Tian's impression, people who had the money to eat beast cores to strengthen themselves were all rich people, even if they were not warriors. They had at least a few million yuan in assets. Su Jiao said, we have money, but we lost our luggage and a lot of documents. Yang Tian immediately understood. He smiled and said, no problem. I will do it for you. Thank you so much. Su Jiao said gratefully. Chapter 103. With Yang Tian's escort, Su Jiao and Su Fongrong arrived safely at Black Rock City. Black Rock City was slightly smaller than Sky Majestic City. However, the entire city was surrounded by 100-meter-tall city walls. After entering the city, Su Jiao brought Yang Tian to Black Rock City's airport. The airport was very small, but it was filled with planes. It seemed very busy. When they entered the terminal, Yang Tian showed his martial list identification at the ticketing counter. A level 8 martial list. The female ticketing agent exclaimed in surprise when she saw Yang Tian's martial list identification. It was no wonder that the ticketing agent was surprised. A level 8 martial list could be considered a top-notch martial list in this world. Who asked the majority of those level 9 martial artists to disappear? This martial list identification had been given to Yang Tian by housekeeper Wu. Given Yang Tian's strength, he didn't need to go to the dojo personally to get it verified. After all, he had defeated Du Xiongwu, a level 8 martialist, and Du Xiongwu had been a level 8 martialist at the time. To be able to defeat a level 8 martialist, one had to be at least a level 8 martialist. This was a logic that even a 3-year-old child knew. "I want 2 tickets to Wulan City," Yang Tian said nonchalantly, ignoring the surprised female ticketing agent. Su Jiao and Su Fongrong, who were standing by the side, also found out that Yang Tian was a level 8 martialist. They were even more surprised than the female ticketing agent. "Big brother Yang Tian, you are so awesome," Su Fongrong said in a worshipful tone as she looked at Yang Tian with stars in her eyes. When Su Fongrong called Yang Tian big brother Yang Tian didn't object. He was only a few years older than Su Fongrong. He stroked Su Fongrong's head and smiled. The next flight to Wulan City had already been booked. The ticketing agent thought about it and apologized to Yang Tian. Then, she made a call to inform the higher-ups. Soon, the higher-ups gave the order. Yang Tian looked at the ticket seller who was making a phone call and kept saying, "Yes, yes." He knew that the tickets were definitely available. Indeed, after the female ticketing agent put down the phone, she quickly printed 2 tickets and handed them to Yang Tian with both hands. "How much?" Yang Tian asked after taking the plane ticket. 1 million, the female ticketing agent replied. Yang Tian frowned. "Why is it so expensive?" The female ticketing agent replied respectfully, "Because this is a chartered flight. There will only be 2 passengers on the entire flight." Yang Tian understood and nodded. He took out his bank card and swiped it to pay the fare. A ticket from Black Rock City to Wulan City cost 50,000 martial coins. Since the flight was short, it could seat more than 30 people. Thus, a single trip would earn more than 5 million martial coins. Now that there were only 2 passengers on the flight, Yang Tian had gotten a bargain by charging him 1 million. Yang Tian looked at the time on the ticket. There was still half an hour left. Yang Tian could see the privileges of a martial artist from the way he bought the ticket. The higher the rank, the greater the privileges. While Yang Tian was buying the tickets, another plane had just taken off. It had taken off from Black Rock City's airport and was heading straight to Hero City. Of course, during the flight, it had to stop and refuel. This was a private plane that Du Xiongwen had booked for the family of Du Xiongwu, Zhu Xiaoqing, and Du Mei. Apart from the 2 pilots, there were only the 3 of them on the plane. As for Du Xiongwen, he didn't take the plane because he had his Black Eagle pet beast. Sitting on the Black Eagle's back would allow him to fly back to Hero City. Plus, he did not have to worry about being attacked by other flying beasts or having the plane crash. The only downside was that the return journey would be much slower. The family of 3 remained silent as they looked at the white clouds outside the window. They had thought that things would gradually get better after they left Sky Majestic City. However, they had not expected that the plane would break down and that they would run into Yang Tian on the way back. Du Xiongwu looked like he had aged several years. He no longer had the fierce aura he had before. The repeated blows had drained him of his energy. For example, when he showed his proof that he was a level 6 martial artist, the airport ignored him. As for his younger brother, Du Xiongwen, after he showed his proof that he was a level 8 martial artist, the ticket agent was more enthusiastic than if he had seen his own mother. He quickly completed the procedures for the private plane. It was worth mentioning that Du Xiongwu was no longer a level 8 martial artist. Shinwei Martial Arts Hall had also withdrawn his proof of being a level 8 martial artist. Zhu Xiaoqing, who was sitting at the side, had been leaning on Du Mei's shoulder. Her eyes were dull and swollen, as if she had been crying for a long time. Half an hour after the plane took off, Zhu Xiaoqing came back to her senses. She looked at her husband sitting next to her and asked weakly, "Is there no one in this world who can defeat that Yang Tian?" Du Xiongwu heard Zhu Xiaoqing's voice and turned to look at Zhu Xiaoqing before closing his eyes. He thought for a moment, opened his eyes, and said, "There is. Peak level 9 powerhouse, Frenzy." Frenzy? Zhu Xiaoqing had never heard of this person's name and looked puzzled. Du Xiongwu nodded. Frenzy was a peak level 9 powerhouse 20 years ago. This person is both good and evil. As long as you can meet his conditions, he can help you kill anyone. And this person has not disappeared. He has been living in Hero City. When Zhu Shaoqing heard this, her eyes finally lit up. She sat up straight and gritted her teeth. Then let's go find Frenzy. If Yang Tian doesn't die, I will not be happy for the rest of my life. Du Xiongwu wanted to say something, but hesitated. In the end, he sighed helplessly. Why did it become like this? Du Xiongwu closed his eyes again and thought. There is always someone better than you. Yang Tian did not expect that a very powerful martial artist would appear in front of him. From this martial artist, he also learned that Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had paid a price that they were unwilling to pay in order to invite this martial artist. At this time, Yang Tian, Su Jiao, and Su Fongrong were standing in front of a brand new jet. They were about to board. Big brother Yang Tian, I will remember you. When I grow up, I will definitely come and find you. Su Fongrong held Yang Tian's hand, unwilling to let go. Her eyes were full of tears, and when she spoke, she sounded like she was about to cry. Yang Tian wiped away Su Fongrong's tears and said with a smile, "Okay, I will wait for you." Of course, Yang Tian did not believe the words of a child. Now, he just wanted to comfort Su Fongrong. Su Fongrong let go of Yang Tian's hand, raised her right hand, and said, "Then, let's pinky promise." Yang Tian was helpless and made a pinky promise with Su Fongrong. Yang Tian, goodbye. Su Jiao was very grateful to Yang Tian, but she did not know what to say at this time. She held her sister Su Fongrong's hand and said to Yang Tian. Yang Tian nodded. After watching the two sisters get on the plane and the plane take off, Yang Tian let out a long sigh. This matter was finally over. Chapter 104. This time, sending the Su sisters back had delayed Yang Tian for 6 to 7 days. Yang Tian didn't mind because it was a good deed. He would never complain about doing too many good deeds. After exiting the terminal, Yang Tian directly left Black Rock City. He was too unfamiliar with this city, so he didn't want to stay here any longer. After leaving Black Rock City, Yang Tian met up with the little unicorn and the little blue dragon and continued on their journey. In the past 20 days, they hadn't even covered 1/10 of the journey. They still had to hunt some high-level beasts to raise their cultivation. They probably wouldn't reach Hero City in a year. They had to speed up. Yang Tian took out the map and looked at it. 5 days later, Yang Tian had arrived at the red circle marked on the map. This was the territory of a level 8 beast. As for what kind of beast it was, the map didn't say. High-level beasts were very smart. They would stay in one place for 1 or 2 years at most. They would only stay in one place for so long if the geographical conditions were good enough to ensure their safety and a source of food. Therefore, the map that Qin Lao gave Yang Tian had been updated. It wasn't a map that had existed for many years. Level 9 martial artists were too mysterious. They seemed to know more information than others. Yang Tian thought as he looked at the dense forest in front of him. Black Rock City's terrain was flat. There were no mountains. If high-level beasts wanted to hide, most of them would dig a hole in the forest and hide underground. Even powerful beasts had to adapt to the environment. The little blue dragon had already gone to check it out. Yang Tian was waiting for news. What kind of beast was it? Yang Tian guessed curiously. About half an hour after the little blue dragon left, a rumbling sound suddenly came from the forest in front of him. Immediately after, the ground started to shake. What a powerful sound! Yang Tian opened his eyes wide. He knew that this beast must be big, very big. Creak, creak, creak. A few minutes later, the little blue dragon returned and kept shouting at Yang Tian. A very big exotic beast. Very, very big. This was the first time the little blue dragon had said that an exotic beast was very big. This was because the little blue dragon was also a huge creature after its transformation. The big it spoke of was not just big. Go take a look. You stay here and look after my things. Yang Tian said as he patted Little Unicorn's head. Little Unicorn nodded. Yang Tian held his saber, and under the guidance of the little blue dragon, he sped towards the forest ahead. It was only a few kilometers away, and they soon reached the edge of the forest. At this time, the ground had already calmed down. It was no longer trembling, returning to its usual calmness. However, the low-level exotic beasts in the forest all rushed out of the forest in groups, looking very flustered. They were obviously frightened. Yang Tian wasn't even interested in attacking these low-level exotic beasts, such as the green python, black backwolf, silver light leopard, and so on. When these low-level exotic beasts saw Yang Tian, they also took a detour. Creak, creak. At this time, the little azure dragon cried out excitedly and sped up. Pump! Yang Tian stomped on the ground and jumped up. He had to bounce between the trees to catch up to the little blue dragon. Soon, the little blue dragon brought Yang Tian to the entrance of a cave with a diameter of 20 meters. The high-level exotic beasts here were indeed hiding underground. Yang Tian took the flashlight from his waist and shone it into the cave. The walls of the cave were very smooth and deep. The edges seemed to have been squeezed out from the inside out. Surrounding the cave entrance were circles of sand and sand. The layers were distinct, and each circle was higher than the last. It was obvious that the exotic beast hiding underground was constantly growing. How do I go down? Yang Tian furrowed his brow. He didn't bring such a long rope with him. Creak, creak. At this time, the little blue dragon cried out again and rushed down the cave walls like lightning. The little blue dragon planned to lure the exotic beast out. When the little blue dragon went deep into the cave, Yang Tian squatted down and touched the black soil on the cave walls with his hand. He discovered that there was a kind of liquid mixed in the soil. He put it to his nose and sniffed. There was also a faint fishy smell. Yang Tian was even more curious about the exotic beast in the cave. A few minutes later, the ground started to shake again, making a rumbling sound as if there was an earthquake. Yang Tian didn't feel it as he was far away earlier. However, now that the ground was shaking, he was swayed from side to side. Yang Tian pressed his legs down and lowered his center of gravity, stabilizing his body. Whoosh! At this time, the sound of the wind could be heard. A violent air current rushed out of the cave. This strong air current carried a rotten smell. It was very unpleasant. Creak, creak. At this time, a green shadow flashed. The little blue dragon rushed out of the cave and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder, crying out excitedly. Just as the little blue dragon came out, the exotic beast in the cave finally rushed out of the cave entrance. Fleshy tentacles? No. What appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes was a blood-red, soft thing covered in thin armor. Its diameter was more than 20 meters, the same as the diameter of the cave. As soon as the exotic beast appeared, its thick body kept rushing out. When it was more than 30 meters out of the cave entrance, it suddenly slapped at Yang Tian. Yang Tian stomped on the ground and dodged. Boom! With a loud sound, the exotic beast's body slammed into the ground. It directly broke a few trees that were as thick as a person's waist, creating a ditch that was several meters deep and 2 meters long. At this time, the exotic beast's body was still rushing out. A few minutes later, the exotic beast finally appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. It was actually a huge earthworm. That's right, it was an earthworm. Yang Tian had seen this kind of mollusk when he was young by the ditch near the city gate. Logically speaking, earthworms should not have mutated into exotic beasts. But now, such a huge earthworm had appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. Its body was more than 20 meters in diameter and several hundred meters in length. After it came out of the cave, it coiled up like a mountain of flesh. When the earthworm came out, Yang Tian kept retreating. He retreated more than 50 meters from the cave entrance before stopping. How should he kill it? Yang Tian looked at the huge earthworm, and a feeling of helplessness rose in his heart. Earthworms had extremely strong vitality. Even if it was cut into several pieces, it could still survive and become several more earthworms. Needless to say, this level 8 earthworm most likely also had this ability. The YS virus mutated exotic beasts and strengthened their abilities. At the same time, it also gave them new abilities. While Yang Tian was thinking, the earthworm opened its soft mouth and suddenly covered Yang Tian. Chapter 105. This enormous earthworm's mouth had no teeth. It was 10-some meters wide, and its insides were red and covered in liquid. Yang Tian once more dodged. Bang! The earthworm's head collided with the ground, creating a loud sound. Sand and stones on the ground flew up and covered Yang Tian's body. Although he didn't know how to kill this earthworm, Yang Tian still raised his saber, arriving in front of the enormous earthworm and stabbing it. Squelch! The saber easily pierced through the earthworm's skin, going all the way to the hilt. After stabbing once, Yang Tian pulled out the saber and retreated. The saber didn't seem to have any effect on the enormous earthworm. It wriggled its body and opened its mouth once more, wanting to swallow Yang Tian. Earthworms were creatures that devoured rotten matter. Since when did they want to eat living things? Yang Tian thought to himself as he dodged once more. With another boom, the enormous earthworm's head once more dug out a several-meter-deep hole in the ground. This fellow's skin was simply too thick. Even if the saber was twice as long, it still wouldn't be able to injure it. Yang Tian frowned in thought, then sheathed the saber. With a toss, the saber flew out of his hand and stabbed into a tree 10 meters away. After dodging the enormous earthworm's mouth once more, Yang Tian controlled the energy of the dragon pearl to fill his arms. Very quickly, Yang Tian's arms transformed into a pair of dragon claws. The transformation of Yang Tian's arms was extremely fast. After dodging 3 times, the transformation was completed, taking around 2 minutes. Yang Tian was becoming more and more proficient in this sort of transformation. After dodging the enormous earthworm's attempt to swallow him, Yang Tian raised his claws and jumped onto the enormous earthworm's body, rapidly waving them. Squelch, 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 squelch. In just a few dozen seconds, Yang Tian had created a large hole in the enormous earthworm's body. Red blood quickly seeped out, drenching Yang Tian's entire body. Rumble, perhaps because it felt the intense pain, the enormous earthworm fiercely flipped its body. Yang Tian had no choice but to give up and jump to the ground. Very quickly, something that shocked Yang Tian happened. When he dodged to the side, the large wound that he had created on the enormous earthworm was rapidly healing. The surrounding flesh wriggled, and the wound became smaller and smaller. After the enormous earthworm rolled a few times, the wound had completely disappeared. It was just that the color of the wound was lighter and there were no scales on it. What powerful recovery abilities! How was he going to kill it? Yang Tian felt helpless when he saw the situation. His previous attacks seemed to have been in vain. At this moment, the giant earthworm suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a ball of white liquid. Another means of attack. Yang Tian quickly dodged, fearing that the white liquid was poisonous. The liquid fell to the ground and sputtered. Some of the liquid hit Yang Tian. Yang Tian's legs kicked the ground again and dodged. However, some of the liquid still landed on him. Fortunately, the liquid was not poisonous. When it touched his clothes, it did not corrode them. However, this liquid was very sticky. If he was wrapped in this large mass of liquid, his movements would be greatly affected, and he would be devoured by the enormous earthworm. After Yang Tian dodged, the enormous earthworm once again spat out a mass of liquid at Yang Tian. This mass of liquid was not much for the enormous earthworm. However, for Yang Tian, it was as much as the amount of water in a small bathtub. It was just like how a human's saliva could drown an ant. Yang Tian dodged again. How can I kill it? At this time, Yang Tian's brain was constantly thinking. Squeak! The little blue dragon screamed twice, then jumped down from Yang Tian's shoulder and rushed to the giant earthworm. It climbed onto the giant earthworm's body and raised its claws to scratch. Soon, the little blue dragon scratched a bloody hole in the giant earthworm's body. Under the pain, the giant earthworm rolled again. The little blue dragon was unmoved. Soon, its body entered the giant earthworm's flesh. No matter how the giant earthworm rolled, it could not hurt the little blue dragon. From its inside, Yang Tian thought. Suddenly, a bold idea came into his mind. As soon as this idea came out, Yang Tian thought about it. He felt that although it was risky, it was worth a try. Xiaolong, come back! Yang Tian shouted. Squeak! The little blue dragon screamed twice, and with a flash, it appeared on Yang Tian's shoulder again. After the little blue dragon left, the giant earthworm's wound healed again. Then, the giant earthworm opened its mouth again and covered Yang Tian. This time, Yang Tian did not dodge and let the giant earthworm swallow him into its mouth. As soon as he entered the giant earthworm's mouth, a nauseating stench irritated Yang Tian and almost made him vomit. The giant earthworm's mouth began to shrink and squeezed Yang Tian. This contraction started from the mouth and extended into the body. Yang Tian's body was squeezed and moved quickly into the giant earthworm's body. Yang Tian quickly took out the flashlight from his waist, turned on the switch, and shone it into the giant earthworm's internal organs. In fact, the earthworm's internal organs were very simple and not that complicated. After the food was swallowed into the stomach, it was a straight intestinal organ. After digesting the food, it was discharged from the tail. Gulu gulu. At this moment, Yang Tian heard a faint sound of something flowing in the side of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian laughed happily. He finally knew the giant earthworm's weakness. Any creature has a weakness. Just like a machine, it must have a power system, just like the human heart. And this giant earthworm must also have internal organs. It was not easy to find them outside, but it was much easier to find them inside its body. Because the outside of this giant earthworm's body was too thick. Yang Tian bit the flashlight in his mouth, raised his claws, and scratched the flesh wall quickly in the direction of the sound. Rumble. When Yang Tian started, the giant earthworm felt a strong pain and rolled again, squeezing Yang Tian's body tighter and tighter. In the process of scratching, Yang Tian clearly felt that the inside of this giant earthworm's body was harder than the outer skin and was comparable to rock. Fortunately, his hands could turn into the indestructible dragon claws. If other martial artists were swallowed into the stomach of this giant earthworm, only death would await them. Even a level 8 martial artist would not be spared unless they planned to let this giant earthworm swallow a large amount of explosives and then detonate them. Chapter 106. When the flesh squeezed tighter and tighter and Yang Tian was almost out of breath, he finally broke through a layer of flesh that was several feet thick, and his whole body was submerged in it. At this time, Yang Tian was facing a situation where he lacked oxygen. There was not enough oxygen in the giant earthworm's flesh for him to breathe. Yang Tian held his breath and moved towards the place where the sound came from. During this process, he could feel that the giant earthworm was constantly rolling and even using its body to constantly beat the ground. Boom, boom, boom. From outside, there was a constant roar. Yang Tian's body was also vibrating and rolling along with the giant earthworm's body. After more than 10 minutes, the grumbling sound became clearer and clearer, and it was only a few meters away from Yang Tian. At this time, because of the lack of oxygen, Yang Tian felt dizzy. Yang Tian knew that with his physique, he could only hold on for more than 10 minutes at most. Fortunately, after breaking through the hard layer of flesh, it was all soft and soft meat. The density of the meat was even thinner than the density of the human muscle. Yang Tian's speed was also much faster. Poof! At that moment, Yang Tian suddenly grabbed a tube-shaped object and broke it. Although his eyes were closed, he could still feel the blood in front of him. Blood vessels! Yang Tian was happy, and he opened the blood vessel wall and went in. The diameter of this giant earthworm's body was more than 20 meters, and the main blood vessels in its body were also big enough for a person to pass through. After entering the blood vessels of the giant earthworm, Yang Tian realized that the grumbling sound he heard was actually the sound of blood flowing. When he entered the blood vessels, he flowed along with the blood. Pong, pong. At this time, there was a sound that sounded like an explosion. Every time it sounded, the blood also fluctuated. This must be the heart organ of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian did not have time to think, because his body flowed along with the blood, quickly approaching the pong, pong sound. Bang! After more than a minute, Yang Tian suddenly heard a roar like thunder. At the same time, he felt the pressure outside suddenly increase, and the speed of his blood flow increased. This was the heart of the giant earthworm. Yang Tian immediately reacted and unfolded his body. He reached out and grabbed something flexible with his left hand, so he quickly grabbed it. At this moment, Yang Tian felt the little blue dragon, who had been lying on his shoulder, bounced off his shoulder and left his body. This was the critical moment. Yang Tian knew that if he was squeezed out of the giant earthworm's heart, he would have to leave through the blood vessels. He had to break through the giant earthworm's skin and flesh within a few minutes. Otherwise, he would be suffocated inside the giant earthworm's body. Bang! At this moment, another explosion resounded in Yang Tian's ears. Blood was squeezed into his ears, causing him to feel pain in his eardrums. If this were to happen a few more times, he would probably become deaf. Yang Tian grasped the thing in his hand tightly with his left hand and used his right hand to stab into the giant earthworm's heart with his sharp claws. He then bent his claws and hooked onto the flesh of the heart organ. While the blood flow slowed down, he released his left hand, put his 5 fingers together, and stabbed again. Then, he used his right hand to pull hard and pulled out a large piece of flesh from the giant earthworm's heart. The giant earthworm struggled even more violently, and Yang Tian felt his body spinning nonstop. This giant earthworm was different from what Yang Tian had imagined. It was probably because of the YS virus that it had evolved to a higher level than before. It actually had an organ like a heart. He did not know if this was the case for ordinary earthworms. Anyway, he had to destroy it first. Also, after destroying this heart organ, Yang Tian did not care if this giant earthworm could survive. Bang! At this time, the giant earthworm's heart organ vibrated again, and Yang Tian was almost washed away by the rapid flow of blood. When the blood flow slowed down, Yang Tian moved again. Puffed, puffed. At this time, Yang Tian heard scratching sounds coming from the side. Obviously, the little blue dragon was moving its claws. The little blue dragon obviously had an advantage over Yang Tian in this kind of thing because it could hold itself in place with its 2 hind claws. 1 claw, 2 claw, 3 claw. Yang Tian counted silently in his heart. The giant earthworm's heart organ was weaker than Yang Tian had imagined. After dozens of claws, this huge organ was finally pierced through by him. When his huge heart organ vibrated again, Yang Tian's body was squeezed out of the hole he had made. When Yang Tian's body was squeezed out, the blood surrounding him disappeared. Yang Tian's body relaxed, and a familiar scene appeared in front of him again. He had returned to the giant earthworm's digestive tract. Yang Tian hurriedly took a few deep breaths, and his mind became clear. After the situation just now, Yang Tian felt that this stinky air was so fresh. Squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon also came out of the digestive tract that Yang Tian had grabbed and cried out excitedly. Bang! The giant earthworm's heart organ vibrated again, and a large amount of blood gushed out of the broken hole. Yang Tian quickly inserted his claws into the giant earthworm's digestive tract to avoid being washed away by the blood. The giant earthworm felt Yang Tian's existence in its digestive tract at this time. It was unknown whether it was instinctive or it was consciously controlling it, but the digestive tract began to squeeze again. Yang Tian had no choice but to go in through the broken hole again. Once, twice, thrice, Yang Tian and the giant earthworm wasted time. After more than 10 times, the hole that Yang Tian had made was getting bigger and bigger, and a large amount of blood had flowed into the giant earthworm's digestive tract. If Yang Tian was outside the giant earthworm's body at this time, he could see the giant earthworm rolling and entangling its body while spitting out dark red blood. Although the giant earthworm's self-healing ability was very strong, it did not include its own heart organ. After Yang Tian destroyed a large area of it, its beating became slower and slower, and finally stopped. At this time, Yang Tian did not give up. While the blood in the digestive tract was not full yet, he destroyed as much as possible and scratched the giant heart organ until it was full of holes. When Yang Tian felt that it was enough, he rushed out of the giant earthworm's body as it spat out blood again. As soon as he landed, Yang Tian ran to the side. At this time, the giant earthworm had shrunk into a ball due to a large amount of blood loss and the destruction of its heart organ. It had become weak. Even if it found Yang Tian, it did not have the strength to attack Yang Tian again. Yang Tian breathed a sigh of relief and sat on the ground. The giant earthworm in front of him was most likely finished. Sure enough, after half an hour, the giant earthworm finally stopped moving and finally died. Chapter 107. Where was the beast core in such a big fellow? This was a huge problem for the martial artists in the sky. This was because the head of this giant earthworm was simply too big. It would take a very long time to find a finger-sized beast core in a mountain of flesh. The little blue dragon could sense the location of the beast core. It was much easier for Yang Tian to find the level 8 beast core. Squeak, squeak. Yang Tian had just stood up when the little blue dragon started squeaking. The little blue dragon told Yang Tian that someone was coming. After reminding Yang Tian, it climbed onto a big tree and curiously looked in the direction of the sound. This place wasn't very far from Black Rock City. Even if warriors came, it wouldn't be a strange thing. When Yang Tian was fighting with the giant earthworm, the commotion was very loud and the sound traveled very far. When the nearby warriors heard it, they naturally rushed over to take a look. Actually, Yang Tian would find it strange if no one came. Yang Tian dispersed the power of the dragon orb that had gathered in his hands. His hands changed from dragon claws to a pair of hands. He slowly walked in front of a big tree and pulled out the saber that was previously stuck in the tree. After pulling out the saber, Yang Tian sat on a fallen tree and waited quietly. Squeak, squeak. A few minutes later, the sound of light footsteps came from the forest in front of him. These footsteps were very light and slow. From these footsteps, Yang Tian could tell that the warriors who came here were very careful. 1 person, 2 people, 3 people. Yang Tian relied on his hearing to determine the number of people. There were a total of 5 people, and the warriors' realms were very high. When these people walked, they controlled the strength of their footsteps very well. When they were about 50 meters away from Yang Tian heard the sound of their footsteps. 5 people, 3 men and 2 women, soon appeared in front of Yang Tian. The leader of the group was a middle-aged man with short hair. His upper body was bare, and he had a strong body. The lines of his muscles were very smooth, and one could tell at a glance that he contained powerful energy. He carried a large alloy bow on his back, and a sword quiver hung from his waist. The quiver was filled with black arrows. In addition to the bow, this person also had a long saber. His aura was even stronger than Zhao Xuanxing's. He should be able to break through to the 8th level soon. Behind the short-haired middle-aged man were 2 young men. They were about 27 or 28 years old. They looked ordinary and wore black leather armor. Judging from their aura, they should be level 6 warriors. The weapons used by both of them were long swords. The scabbards were slightly curved, like the Japanese katanas. Finally, there were 2 young women. They had good figures, but their skin was a little dark. They looked to be in their late 20s. One of them had a ponytail, while the other had short hair. They were also wearing black leather armor. These 2 women were also level 6 warriors. The short-haired woman had a saber pouch hanging from her waist. It was full of small knives with a red scarf tied to it. It seemed that she was good at using flying knives. In addition to the flying knives, there was a 2-foot-long short saber hanging from the other side of the woman's waist. The other woman had a ponytail and a circle of silver-white thin silk tied around her wrist. This reminded Yang Tian of the weapon used by Steward Wu. The four rank 6 martialists were also the youngest rank 6 martialists that Yang Tian had ever seen. This team of 5 people, 1 was at the peak of level 7 and 4 were level 6 warriors. They were the strongest team of warriors that Yang Tian had ever seen. After the 5 people came out of the woods, they first looked at the giant earthworm's body and then walked straight to Yang Tian. Yang Tian wiped the blood from his face and stared at the 5 people. The strongest of the 5 was only at the peak of level 7. Although there were more of them, it would not be difficult for Yang Tian to defeat them. However, Yang Tian did not underestimate them. Although it was rare for a warrior to kill a warrior of a higher level, it had happened before. A gust of wind blew past, and the earthworm blood on Yang Tian's body dried up, making him feel uncomfortable all over. If not for the arrival of these 5 people, he would have already taken the beast core and found a place to take a bath and change his clothes. The 5 people walked straight to Yang Tian and stopped about 10 meters away. This was a safe distance between warriors. Under normal circumstances, strangers would not greet each other. Crossing this safe distance was considered a sign of an attack. "Brother, did you kill this exotic beast?" At this moment, the middle-aged man asked Yang Tian in a proud tone. "Yes." Yang Tian nodded. Although Yang Tian had the strength of a level 8 warrior, in reality, he was only a level 7 enhancer. His body naturally exuded the aura of a level 7 warrior. Between cultivators, age did not matter. Only strength mattered, especially between unfamiliar cultivators. Powerful cultivators would always have a sense of superiority when dealing with cultivators of a lower realm than them. Also, these 5 people obviously had bad intentions towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian had already guessed that this middle-aged man in front of him definitely wanted to obtain a level 8 beast core from him to raise his own level. These were the reasons why the middle-aged man's attitude towards Yang Tian was bad. If this middle-aged man knew that this young man in front of him was the famous Yang Tian, he would definitely not speak to Yang Tian in such a tone. The circle of warriors was actually very small, especially the high-level ones. In Tianxiong City, the news of Yang Tian defeating the level 8 warrior Du Xiongwu had already spread. "This giant worm is a level 8 beast?" the middle-aged man asked again. "Yes." Yang Tian nodded again. Yang Tian was very calm, which made the middle-aged man feel a little strange. He asked again, "What's your name?" "Gamma Cygni, Mu as in wood, and air as in 1, 2, 3, Yang Tian replied. He originally wanted to say his real name, but suddenly changed his mind. He wanted to see what this person wanted to do to him. At this time, Yang Tian also wanted to play around with these people. He felt that it was a little fun, like playing a pig to eat a tiger. Yang Tian was still young, and young people were always playful. Gamma Cygni. The middle-aged man repeated Yang Tian's name and shook his head slightly as he looked at Yang Tian. There was a trace of undetectable excitement in his eyes. He was very sure that there was no level 7 martialist called Gamma Cygni in Blackrock City. In that case, this person must have come from another city. This made things easier. Hand over the level 8 beast core, and I'll let you go. The middle-aged man suddenly said as he looked into Yang Tian's eyes. As he said this, the middle-aged man wanted to see panic, fear, or nervousness in Yang Tian's eyes. However, Yang Tian still appeared very calm. Yang Tian pointed calmly at the dead giant worm that looked like a mountain of flesh. The beast core hasn't been extracted yet. You guys do as you see fit. Chapter 108. Thank you, Li Junyang, and the other readers for your tips. I can see your names on the fan list. Thank you for your support. At the same time, thank you to the readers who liked this book. Yang Tian's straightforwardness made the middle-aged man very surprised. However, when he turned around and looked at the giant earthworm's corpse, he understood that it wouldn't be so easy to find a beast core from such a huge exotic beast. They had come at the right time. More than 10 minutes ago, they had felt the ground tremble. At that time, the giant earthworm hadn't died yet. The middle-aged man frowned and turned around, signaling his 4 companions with his eyes. The 4 of them nodded at the middle-aged man and walked towards the giant earthworm's corpse. The four of them walked around the giant earthworm's corpse and found the giant earthworm's head. When they found that there was no cut on it, they pulled out their own knives and continuously hacked at the giant earthworm's head, making pu sounds. Yang Tian leaned on his knife and watched calmly. After the middle-aged man stared for a while and confirmed that Yang Tian wouldn't make a move on them for the time being, he also turned around and joined the team looking for the beast core. The actions of his four companions also told the middle-aged man that there was a high possibility that the level 8 beast core hadn't been taken away yet. The temptation of the level 8 beast core made the middle-aged man not think too much about Yang Tian's intentions. In fact, Yang Tian didn't know where the beast core was in the giant earthworm's body because these people had arrived before the little blue dragon could tell him. The timing of their arrival was very good. If these people really found it, he would just take it away. These 5 people were still no match for Yang Tian. If it was any other exotic beast, it would be very easy to determine the location of the beast core. However, this giant earthworm was different. It had no bones in its body. After death, it was just a pile of soft flesh. If one wanted to find the beast core in its body, they would have to cut off pieces of flesh and search carefully. It was like looking for a small gold grain in a pile of sand, cutting off the flesh piece by piece and carefully sifting through it. This was a very heavy job. Yang Tian continued to watch calmly and did not seem to have any intention of leaving. This caused the 5 of them to be somewhat distracted. However, they wouldn't allow Yang Tian to leave because they weren't sure if Yang Tian had already taken the beast cores from the exotic beasts. However, after the 5 of them observed, this exotic beast had just died not too long ago. They had arrived just in time. Yang Tian shouldn't have taken away the beast core so quickly. The 5 of them were actually very conflicted. Yang Tian didn't care about this. He just sat at the side and wanted to see how busy they were. The harder they worked, the happier Yang Tian was. If they wanted to snatch the fruits of victory from others, they had to pay a price. Half a day passed quickly, and the sky was about to turn dark. During this process, Yang Tian appeared to be very obedient to the 5 of them. Other than sitting there, he only stood up and stretched his limbs. He did not do anything excessive. "Big brother, this won't do. It's been a few hours, and we haven't even found a shadow of the beast core. Did he take the beast core away? Look, there aren't any wounds on the surface of this giant earthworm. He must have drilled into the giant earthworm's body to kill it." At this time, the middle-aged man and the short-haired young man next to him looked up at the sky and said with a frown. His meaning was very clear. The beast core was very likely taken away by Yang Tian. Moreover, it was taken from the giant earthworm's body. Other than the fact that there weren't any wounds on the giant earthworm's body, Yang Tian was still covered in blood. The middle-aged man turned to look at Yang Tian and said, "Then what do you think we should do?" The young man raised his hand and made a throat-slitting gesture, meaning that they should get rid of Yang Tian first. This way, whether the beast core was taken away by Yang Tian or left in the exotic beast body, the result would be the same. The middle-aged man hesitated. Kill Yang Tian? This was a good idea. In fact, he wanted to do this at first, but seeing Yang Tian's calm appearance, he changed his mind. Because Yang Tian was also a level 7 martial artist, if they fought, it would be hard to say who would win, although he thought that he was more skilled. The higher the level of a martial artist, the more careful they would be when facing an enemy. This was because they had rich combat experience. They had seen too many cases of the weak defeating the strong, or the weak using tricks to defeat the strong. The middle-aged man recalled at this time. Suddenly, he felt like he had been played by Yang Tian. He had been leisurely watching the show from the sidelines. A kind of anger suddenly rose in the middle-aged man's heart. Until now, no one had dared to play with him. The middle-aged man looked at Yang Tian again, then walked towards Yang Tian with a gloomy face while holding his knife. 2 young men and 2 women stopped what they were doing at the same time and followed behind the middle-aged man. They knew what the middle-aged man wanted to do next. Seeing the 5 of them walking towards him, Yang Tian couldn't help but laugh. These 5 people finally couldn't help but react. Yang Tian pulled out the knife in his hand and flicked it with his finger. Ing, 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 ing. The smooth blade let out a soft hum. "Kid, You dare to play with us? After stopping 10 meters away from Yang Tian, the middle-aged man pointed his knife at Yang Tian and sneered. Yang Tian looked at the middle-aged man and laughed. I don't even know who you are and what your names are. Why would I play with you? Because we want to steal your beast core. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, a young man standing behind the middle-aged man followed up. Yang Tian nodded with a look of sudden realization. That's right. You want to steal from me, so it's normal for me to play with you. Greed can turn a person into an idiot. Just now, I saw the 5 of you idiots chopping at a pile of soft meat. That look, TSK, TSK. It would be great if I could take a picture of it. I remember that the warrior auxiliary tool has this function. Pung. As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, the middle-aged man, who was already unable to restrain his anger, stomped hard on the ground. In a flash, he appeared in front of Yang Tian and slashed at Yang Tian with his knife. However, Yang Tian immediately dodged, causing the middle-aged man's knife to hit nothing. After the knife hit nothing, the middle-aged man didn't continue to attack. He turned his head and looked coldly at Yang Tian, who was standing at the side, and said indifferently, Until now, no one has dared to play with me. Wang Kuan. You're the first, so you're dead meat. Wang Kuan? This name was very unfamiliar to Yang Tian. In the circle of warriors, Yang Tian hadn't been around for long. Usually, he didn't pay attention to others, so it was normal that he didn't know about Wang Kuan. However, almost everyone in Black Rock City knew about Wang Kuan and the small team he led. Chapter 109. If he didn't know, he could check. Yang Tian took out his martial arts assistive device from his pocket, as Yang Tian's hands needed to transform. He wasn't like other martial artists who could always wear their martial arts assistive devices on their wrists. After taking out his martial arts assistive device, Yang Tian pressed a button on it and said, Connect to the internet. Who is Wang Kuan from Black Rock City? Seeing that Yang Tian wanted to check his information, Wang Kuan didn't stop him. Soon, Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device rang and reported the information of martial artist Wang Kuan. It was a great honor for a martial artist to be mentioned on the internet and have their information posted, as it represented a kind of strength. Only martial artists with low strength and unknown martial artists were hard to find. Although humans were threatened by mutated beasts and could only stay in the cities, the wireless communication between the various cities was not cut off. The wireless signal connected the entire world closely together. Black Rock City, Wang Kuan, 42 years old, peak level 7 martial artist, formed a small team of 5, known as the Death Team. Wang Kuan has 4 level 6 martial artists under his command: Lu Ji, Li Qin, Xin, and Sang Mei. The Death Team has committed many evil deeds and is very strong. According to statistics, they have stolen beast cores 103 times and killed 70 martial artists and 207 civilians. The information about Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device was obtained from searching on the internet. It wasn't directly extracted from the martial artist database. When it reported the information, the martial arts assistive device's voice was intermittent. Most of the information was from comments made by other martial artists on the internet and information about Wang Kuan. When Yang Tian heard that these 5 people had killed 207 civilians, Yang Tian raised his head and looked coldly at Wang Kuan. What Yang Tian hated the most was when martial artists used their martial prowess to bully and kill ordinary people without any martial prowess. The information reported by the martial arts assistive device wasn't accurate. It could be too much or too little. However, even if they had only killed an ordinary person without any strength, Yang Tian would still make them pay the price. Seeing Yang Tian's martial arts assistive device report the information about himself and the Death Team, Wang Kuan was still expressionless. However, the 4 people behind him couldn't help but look pleased. To them, this information was a great achievement. What made them feel a little regretful was that the information didn't mention how many high-level martial artists they had killed. One had to know that at least a dozen level 6 warriors and 2 level 7 warriors had died in their hands. They believed that if Yang Tian heard this information, he would definitely be afraid. maybe he would obediently hand over the level 8 beast core he had obtained. The death team was very famous in Black Rock City. Any martial artist below level 8 would be very respectful when they saw them. However, Yang Tian turned off the martial arts assistive device very quickly, leaving them disappointed. My name is actually not Gamma Cygni, Yang Tian said coolly as he turned off the martial arts assistive device and looked coldly at Wang Kun. As Yang Tian said this, Wang Kun felt a sudden sharp aura emanating from Yang Tian's body. It was like a sharp knife that was filled with a dangerous aura. Wang Kun stopped looking down on Yang Tian. He knew that if Yang Tian knew that he was a peak level 7 martial artist, he would definitely be able to defeat him and his death team. If your name is not Gamma Cygni, then what is it? Wang Kun asked seriously. My name is Yang Tian, Yang Tian said coolly. Yang Tian? What a familiar name. Yang Tian. When Yang Tian announced his real name, Wang Kun muttered Yang Tian's name softly. Suddenly, Wang Kun's eyes widened. He finally remembered who Yang Tian was. The young man in front of him looked exactly like the young man he had seen on the internet. Previously, the hottest topic in a martial arts circle was the battle where Yang Tian defeated Du Xiongwu. You are Yang Tian, a level 8 martial artist from Tianxiong City, Wang Kun suddenly said in surprise. Yang Tian curled his lips and nodded. After seeing that Wang Kun knew who he was, Yang Tian's vanity was greatly satisfied. This was a normal phenomenon. Any normal person would have a sense of vanity. It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. We will leave now. We will leave now. Wang Kun saw the murderous look in Yang Tian's eyes and couldn't help but panic. He laughed and said. As he spoke, he slowly retreated, afraid that Yang Tian would suddenly attack them. A level 7 martial artist was far from being a match for a level 8 martial artist. Even if a few level 7 martial artists joined forces, they would not be able to defeat a level 8 martial artist. The difference in strength between the two realms was like the difference between an ordinary person and an enhancer. Even if Wang Kun was at the peak of level 7, he would still be a level 7 martial artist. It was impossible for him to compete with a level 8 martial artist. As Wang Kun retreated, Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei behind him also retreated. When they found out that Yang Tian was a level 8 martial artist, they felt as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. They knew that they had kicked an iron plate this time. As their ancestors said, if you walk in the dark for a long time, you will meet a ghost. Under Yang Tian's cold gaze, Wang Kun and the others retreated more than 10 meters. When they thought that Yang Tian would let them go, they heard Yang Tian say coldly, "You have committed a heinous crime. Today you must die." To Yang Tian, killing innocent humans was an unforgivable crime for a martial artist. This was Yang Tian's principle as a martial artist. Without strength, Yang Tian could not do anything. But now that he was a top martial artist, he always felt that he had to do something for this world. If possible, then he would change the rules of the game of this world. Yang Tian knew that his actions would most likely be mocked by others in the future, saying that he was meddling in other people's business. But Yang Tian did not care at all, because he knew that what he was doing was right. In this world, there had to be someone who would stand up for injustice. If no one cares, then let me do it. Hearing Yang Tian's cold words, Wang Kun, Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei could not help but be horrified. Their bodies involuntarily trembled as the shadow of death shrouded their hearts. However, although the 5 of them were afraid, they would not surrender without a fight. They would allow Yang Tian to cut their necks. Wang Kun turned his head and glanced at the 4 of them. Lu Ji, Li Qin, Yi Xian, and Sang Mei nodded at the same time. They understood the meaning of Wang Kun's eyes. Suddenly, Wang Kun turned his head and smiled at Yang Tian. He took off the bow on his back and quickly drew an arrow. With a pull of the bow, the black arrow left the bowstring. Xiao! The black arrow whistled toward Yang Tian. Yang Tian tilted his head and dodged. Bang! The black arrow missed and hit a big tree behind Yang Tian. It actually exploded and blew up a big tree as thick as a person's waist. He did not expect that Wang Kuen's black arrow, which looked like a triangular metal arrowhead, was actually a small bomb. It would explode when it encountered a strong collision. Fortunately, Yang Tian did not think of using a knife to split the black arrow. Otherwise, such a strong explosion would definitely hurt him. This kind of attack was really creative. Chapter 110. At the same time that Wang Kuen shot the arrow, the short-haired woman flung 3 flying daggers at Yang Tian. The strength of a level 6 fighter was very strong. The 3 flying daggers pierced through the air and flew towards Yang Tian in a triangular formation. At the same time, the 5 of them suddenly scattered and ran in different directions. Xiaolong, move out. Yang Tian knew that it was impossible for him to kill the 5 of them in a short period of time. This required the little blue dragon's help. Xiaolong, Wang Kuen, and the others, who were running away at top speed, didn't know who the Xiaolong that Yang Tian mentioned was, but they couldn't care less. There was only one thought in their minds, and that was to get out of here as soon as possible. They attacked Yang Tian just now because they wanted to delay Yang Tian's movements. Fighting with a level 8 martial artist, that was simply courting death. Only an idiot would do that. In Wang Kuen's heart, he had the thought of fighting to the death with Yang Tian. This was because he knew that he would be the first person Yang Tian would kill. But he knew the character of his 4 subordinates. If they felt that something was wrong, they would definitely abandon him. So, he might as well run from the beginning and save some energy for a fight. Pong! Yang Tian stomped on the ground and shot out like a cannonball. Cheep cheep. At this time, the little blue dragon on a big tree beside them cried out excitedly. It turned into a green light and rushed toward the young man. Wang Kuen's speed was very fast. At this time, he had already escaped into the forest. Pong! 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 Yang Tian relied on his powerful strength and reaction speed to bounce his body between the trees. When he was about to catch up with Wang Kuen, the sword in his hand turned into a white line, and his fast body swept past Wang Kuen's side. Pong! Yang Tian fell to the ground. The force of the fall caused his feet to sink into the ground. Puffed. At this time, Wang Kuen's head suddenly tilted and fell to the ground. Blood spurted out from the smooth cut on his neck. The body that lost control fell to the ground and rolled a few times before coming to a stop. A level 7 fighter, even if he was at the peak, was not at the same level as Yang Tian. Whether it was strength or speed, the difference was too great. It was like a strong fighter could kill an ordinary person with one punch. Yang Tian only glanced at Wang Kuen's body and then ran to the next target. Yang Tian rushed through the forest. With his keen hearing, he heard that one of the remaining 4 people was moving quickly in the forest not far away. In less than a minute, Yang Tian caught up with the target. This was one of the 2 women with a ponytail. Hearing that someone was chasing behind her, the woman was obviously panicked and accelerated her speed. Ah! Suddenly, the woman screamed and fell to the ground. Then, she circled around a big tree and rushed forward again. This woman's actions made Yang Tian feel a little strange. How could a level 6 fighter fall so easily? Yang Tian was suspicious and stopped. At this time, in the wind, there was a burst of metal objects trembling. This sound was very soft. If Yang Tian did not have extremely strong hearing, he would not have noticed it. Yang Tian looked in the direction of the sound, and a small white light flashed. Only then did he remember that there was a circle of very thin metal wire around the woman's wrist. What a powerful trap! Yang Tian was shocked. If he had not noticed that something was wrong and stopped, he would have hit those very thin metal wires. As a result, he would have been injured, and the injury would not have been light. Yang Tian's speed was very fast, but the faster he was, the stronger the cutting force of the metal wire on his body. Chi chi chi. Yang Tian took a few steps forward, raised his sword, and cut off the 3 metal wires in front of him. The 3 metal wires were obviously made of whitey elemental alloy. When Yang Tian cut down, he met with strong resistance. A big tree next to him made a poof sound, and the metal wire sank deep into the trunk. Chi-Chi. At this time, the little blue dragon's cry sounded, and a green shadow appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. The little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Little azure dragon reported the results of its battle to Yang Tian. Under its claws, one was dead and one was injured. A young man's throat was slit while the short-haired woman lost both her eyeballs. Why don't you kill women? Yang Tian laughed. He did not care and scratched the little blue dragon's body. There was another woman. Yang Tian looked in the direction that the woman disappeared, took a turn, and chased after her again. Huff! Huff! Xin ran quickly, panting heavily. This was not because she did not have enough stamina, but because she was nervous. She knew that Yang Tian would catch up soon, and what awaited her was most likely death. Shrouded in the shadow of death, Xin felt very tired. As for the trap she set, she did not have much hope. If a level 8 warrior could be killed by the trap she set, then he was not a level 8 warrior. She hoped to use the trap to slow down Yang Tian's advance, so that she would have enough time to escape. After a few minutes, Xin ran out of the forest, and an open area appeared in front of her. Go back and tell the warriors of Black Rock City that if any warrior dares to kill innocent civilians, they will end up like Wang Kuan. At this time, Xin heard Yang Tian's voice. Xin stopped in her tracks in shock and slowly turned around. A gust of wind blew, and the leaves of the dense forest rustled. At this time, the sky had already darkened, and the dense forest was like the mouth of the grim reaper to her. It was very terrifying. I will pass the message to them. For a long time, Yang Tian appeared in front of Xin. She knew that she had finally escaped death, and hurriedly replied loudly to the forest. Yang Tian said that he would not kill women, but this was not absolute. He originally wanted the little blue dragon to attack and kill this woman, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was better to leave one person alive, at least to let the other warriors know of his will. As for the other woman who was blinded by the little blue dragon, Yang Tian knew that she would not be able to return to Black Rock City alive. Using Xion's mouth, Yang Tian wanted to announce his will to the whole world. This day would later be written down in history, and was regarded as the beginning of the new era of warriors. Of course, Yang Tian did not know that now, and he thought that he had only done a small thing. The next step was to go back and retrieve the beast core from the giant earthworm. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this time, the little blue dragon cried out again and told Yang Tian that it had sensed the existence of many beast cores. Many beast cores? Yang Tian was stunned for a moment, then laughed. When Wang Kuan and the others appeared in front of him, they did not bring their backpacks, so they must have left them in the forest, and there must be a large number of beast cores in their backpacks or on their bodies. Chapter 111. Yang Tian suddenly thought of Little Unicorn. The sky was getting dark, but Little Unicorn was still at its original spot. It was now a level 3 beast, so it was still very afraid of level 8 beasts. Yang Tian whistled loudly in the direction of Little Unicorn. After Little Unicorn heard it, it held Yang Tian's backpack in its mouth and ran in the direction of the sound. 10 minutes later, Little Unicorn met up with Yang Tian and the little blue dragon. Yang Tian patted Little Unicorn's head, took the backpack from its mouth, and carried it in his hand. Wang Kuan and the others' backpacks were placed in the forest not far from the giant earthworm. With the little blue dragon leading the way, Yang Tian quickly found the 5 backpacks. Opening one of the backpacks, Yang Tian found some salt and water, a change of clothes, a few electric bombs, and a few timed high explosive detonators. Yang Tian did not want the clothes. Instead, he kept the unopened bottle of pure water, the 3 lightning bolts, and the 2 timed high explosive detonators into his backpack. These powerful weapons would still be of some use at critical moments. Just like this giant earthworm, if he had these timed high explosive detonators, it would be much easier to kill this giant earthworm. Yang Tian opened the backpacks one by one. He picked out the things he needed and put them into his own backpack. Actually, there are not many things. The 5 of them had probably been out for a long time. When they were about to return to the city, they heard the commotion and came to check. They had already used up most of their daily necessities. When Yang Tian opened the third backpack, his eyes lit up. He finally found what he was looking for. 5 level 1 beast cores, 3 level 2 beast cores, 1 level 3 beast core, 2 level 4 beast cores, and 1 level 5 beast core. A total of 13 beast cores. This team has gained quite a lot. Looking at these beast cores, Yang Tian smiled happily. The total value of these cores was over 600 million martial coins. This backpack should be Wang Kuen's backpack. There were so many beast cores. He probably gathered all the beast cores obtained by the team and disposed of them after returning to the city. This was also the rule of many small teams that went out for training. The last time Yang Tian and Xiao Fei went out, it was also the same rule. After putting away the things, Yang Tian carried the bag and came to the corpse of the giant earthworm. Xiaolong, where are the beast cores? Yang Tian asked with a smile as he watched the little blue dragon jump onto little unicorn's back. The little blue dragon squeaked and jumped off the little unicorn's back. It ran to the tail of the giant earthworm and scratched it with its claws. This giant earthworm's beast core was actually on its tail. This made Yang Tian very astonished. Most beast cores were stored in their brains. Could it be that the tail of this giant earthworm was where its brain was? The tail of the giant earthworm was much thinner than the rest of its body. However, it was still about 5 meters in diameter. Yang Tian looked at it and pulled out his saber. He used 5 slashes to cut the tail of the giant earthworm. The tail of this giant earthworm was much harder than the rest of its body. It was as if it was made of cartilage. After a few slashes from Yang Tian, a caw-caw sound could be heard. After the tail of the giant earthworm was cut open, Yang Tian could not help but open his eyes wide when he saw what was inside. His heart started beating rapidly because he was extremely excited. In his eyes, there was a hard shell and a scarlet sac. The inside of the sac was filled with white liquid. On the walls of the sac, there were many multicolored beast cores embedded in the white, grease-like membrane. There were a lot of multicolored beast cores. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking at these beast cores, Yang Tian suppressed his excitement and started counting. He only stopped when he reached 36. There were actually 36 beast cores in this strange sack. Moreover, the color of the beast cores were all different. There were actually all kinds of beast cores from level 1 to level 8. There were 8 white level 1 beast cores, 7 level 2 yellow beast cores, 6 level 3 red beast cores, 5 level 4 green beast cores, 4 level 5 light blue beast cores, 3 level 6 dark blue beast cores, 2 level 7 golden beast cores, and 1 level 8 purple beast core. These beast cores from high to low were arranged in a sequence of 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It was very strange. There was only one beast core in an exotic beast body. This was almost a rule. However, why were there 36 beast cores in this giant earthworm's body? Xiaolong, do you know why there are so many beast cores? Yang Tian could not understand and could only ask the little blue dragon. Gigi, the little blue dragon expressed that it did not know either. This giant earthworm was not a mutant beast, but it had also mutated. Moreover, there was more than one beast core in its body. This made Yang Tian speculate that perhaps the YS virus had not stopped mutating like the scientists had said. This was a big deal. Yang Tian immediately used his warrior assistance device to record a video. He then encrypted it and stored it in the warrior assistance device. Perhaps in the future, this video could be used as evidence. After recording the video, the light was very dim. Yang Tian used his knife to pick out the 36 beast cores from the sack and put them in his backpack. He had obtained 36 beast cores in one go. In addition to the beast cores he had obtained from Wang Kuen's backpack, this could be considered a bountiful harvest of beast cores. Even the beast cores he obtained from killing the wolf pack with Mark could not compare to what he had obtained this time. After the giant earthworm died, it emitted a stench that was even thicker than before. Yang Tian's body was covered in blood. Now that he was dead, he felt very uncomfortable. He had to find a place to take a bath. Yang Tian carried his backpack and walked out of the forest. After walking quickly for an hour, he entered a forest with a lower terrain. The sky was already dark. The weather was better that night. The sky was filled with stars, and the ground was not very dark. When Yang Tian entered the small forest, rustling sounds could be heard from the bushes. There were also the howls of various exotic beasts. Some of the exotic beasts that lived here were disturbed by Yang Tian and his two beasts. They all ran away in panic. There were no exotic beasts that were level 3 or above here. Just the aura from the little unicorn alone was enough to intimidate these exotic beasts. Pooh! A blackback wolf scuttled out, trying to escape from Yang Tian. It was slashed by the blade that Yang Tian threw. This blackback wolf that was killed was Yang Tian, the little blue dragon, and the little unicorn's dinner. In an era where exotic beasts roamed freely, martial artists who lived in the wild would never lack food. Yang Tian used the flashlight in his hand to illuminate the forest. He found the lowest terrain in the forest and squatted down, using his fingers to pinch the wet soil on the ground. After that, Yang Tian directly used his hands to dig a hole that was about 2 meters in diameter and 1 meter deep. Before the hole was finished, water had already seeped out. After an hour of digging, the water became clear. After that, Yang Tian took off his leather armor and clothes. He used a stainless steel basin that he always carried with him to water them. He washed his hair and body clean and changed into a clean set of clothes. After that, he started to deal with the wolf carcass and make dinner. Chapter 112. The next morning, 7 o'clock. The weather was very good. Although the sun hadn't risen yet, there wasn't a single cloud in the sky. This was definitely another good day. A person's mood would always be good on a sunny day. Yang Tian looked up at the sky, then lowered his head to look at the purple rank 8 beast core in his hand. Now, Yang Tian was preparing to swallow this beast core and raise his realm to a true rank 8. This way, when he used the power of the dragon orb later on, his strength would be equivalent to a rank 9. This low-lying forest didn't look conspicuous, so there shouldn't be anyone here. Moreover, he had the little blue dragon to guard him, so he didn't have to worry about being disturbed by exotic beasts or other warriors during the process of strengthening. The little unicorn beside him had already swallowed a rank 4 beast core and was in a deep sleep. When it woke up, it would be a rank 4 exotic beast. At that time, little unicorn would become an adult unicorn. Yang Tian hadn't named Little Unicorn yet because he wanted his girlfriend, Qin Fei, to give it a nice name. Little Unicorn naturally knew about this because Yang Tian often mentioned to it that it would have a mistress in the future. Little Unicorn didn't reject this matter because Yang Tian had told it many times that its mistress had a good temper and would like it very much. More importantly, Little Unicorn could stay away from the little blue dragon. Once the little blue dragon emitted its aura, it would always be afraid from the bottom of its heart. After putting the beast core into his mouth, Yang Tian opened a bottle of purified water and swallowed the rank 8 beast core. A few minutes later, Yang Tian felt a warm current in his stomach. Just like before, Yang Tian closed his eyes and began to use his mind to control the dragon orb in his body, starting to absorb the energy of the rank 8 beast core. When Yang Tian was fighting with Du Xiongwu, the Dragon Ball that was compressed into a dot by Yang Tian had already become the size of a soybean. Now, Yang Tian still hoped to condense it into a small dot again. 1 day, 2 days, time flew by, and 5 days passed in a flash. During this process, Yang Tian leaned against a big tree as if he had fallen asleep. His body was covered in leaves. During this process, the little blue dragon stayed by Yang Tian's side. It didn't eat or drink and remained vigilant. 5 days passed. Suddenly, Yang Tian opened his eyes and woke up. However, Yang Tian did not look happy at all. Instead, he frowned. This was because the dragon orb in his body did not change much after absorbing the energy of the rank 8 beast core. This was not because the energy of the beast core was not enough. Yang Tian could feel that the energy released by the rank 8 Beast Core this time was more than 10 times that of the previous rank 7 Beast Core. If it wasn't because of the Beast Core, then it was because there was not enough energy. Yang Tian thought for a moment, then immediately took out 2 more rank 7 Beast Cores and swallowed them twice. A few minutes later, the energy of the 2 rank 7 Beast Cores began to be absorbed by Yang Tian's digestive system. After releasing the energy, Yang Tian closed his eyes 3 days later. Yang Tian opened his eyes abruptly. His eyebrows furrowed again because the energy was still not enough. After swallowing the energy of the 2 rank 7 Beast Cores, the dragon orb in Yang Tian's body finally changed. It started to turn light purple. From the looks of it, he seemed to have completed his advancement. However, Yang Tian felt that he had not successfully advanced to the realm of a level 8 warrior. What should he do now? Yang Tian was a little vexed. If he had known earlier, he would have killed a few more rank 8 exotic beasts and accumulated enough beast cores before attempting to advance. Cheep, cheep, cheep. The little blue dragon noticed Yang Tian's abnormality. It jumped down from a nearby tree and asked Yang Tian, "Xiaolong, I feel that I have not succeeded. I still need more energy. The dragon orb in my body is only light purple now." Yang Tian frowned and explained his situation to the little blue dragon. Cheep, cheep. What surprised Yang Tian was that the little blue dragon told him that he had already advanced to the next realm. Although he believed in the little blue dragon, Yang Tian felt that he had not completed it. It was a very uncomfortable feeling. It was as if he was about to complete something, but he had only completed half of it. Just as he was about to complete it, he suddenly stopped. Yang Tian gritted his teeth and opened the backpack in front of him. He looked at the dozens of beast cores inside and swallowed the 3 rank 6 beast cores one by one. The rank 8 and rank 7 beast cores did not have enough energy. He could only use the energy of these low-level beast cores to make up for it. After swallowing the 3 rank 6 beast cores, Yang Tian did not stop. Next, he swallowed the remaining 4 rank 5 beast cores and 5 rank 4 beast cores. Yang Tian felt that he should have enough energy after swallowing so many beast cores. Yang Tian closed his eyes again. In the state of inner vision, the light purple dragon orb in the dragon orb's dimension once again absorbed energy. Boom! 2 days later, when Yang Tian controlled the dragon orb and finished absorbing the energy of the beast cores, the entire dimension of the dragon orb let out a roar and trembled violently. This tremor made Yang Tian feel dizzy, as if his soul was about to be shaken out of his body. But very quickly, the dimension of the dragon orb calmed down. At this time, the light purple dragon orb began to swell as if it was being blown up at a very fast speed. Almost in the blink of an eye, it went from the size of a soybean to the size of a soccer ball. The color of the enlarged dragon orb began to change. The purple light that it emitted became weaker and weaker and was about to disappear. Yang Tian was shocked and immediately used his mind to control the dragon orb to make it smaller. When the dragon orb was controlled by Yang Tian's mind, it obediently began to shrink. It was another long time. 7 days passed by quickly. At this time, a total of 16 days had passed since Yang Tian started swallowing the rank 8 beast cores. In the following 7 days, Yang Tian's mind had been fighting with the dragon orb, just like before. The little unicorn had completed its evolution from a level 3 beast to a level 4 beast. In the past half a month, its body had grown rapidly and was about the size of an adult unicorn. It was just that because it had just evolved, its eyes still retained a trace of childishness, unlike other level 4 beasts, whose eyes were so sharp. At level 4, the unicorn could carry Yang Tian and fly freely in the air. Exotic beasts all had mysterious, inherited memories. After advancing to level 4, a part of the memories in their minds had awakened, and they were more proficient in controlling flight. They wouldn't fall head first after flying in the air and injuring themselves like before. Oh, When the little unicorn flew a circle in the air curiously and landed on the ground with a gust of wind, Yang Tian finally woke up. He opened his eyes with a satisfied look on his face. At this time, the dragon orb in his body had condensed into a small dot again, emitting a bright purple light. Standing up from the ground, Yang Tian moved his body and felt that there was an inexhaustible amount of strength in his body. He knew that his body was now at the peak of level 8, and with the dragon orb's energy, his strength was equivalent to a peak level 9 martial artist. Chapter 113. While Yang Tian was devouring beast cores to increase his level, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had already arrived at Hero City. Their daughter, Du Mei, had already gone out with Du Xiongwen to train. Du Xiongwen and Zhu Shaoqing had failed at educating their children. All three of their sons were good-for-nothings. If Du Xiongwu had not been a level 8 warrior, Du Cheng and Dui would not have been able to become level 4 warriors. As for Du Mei, although she was a girl, she was much better than Du Cheng, Dui, and Du Feng. At least she was worth nurturing. Du Xiongwen would not let Du Mei be ruined by his brother and sister-in-law. In a luxurious villa in Hero City, Du Xiongwu was sitting in the living room. There was a Chinese chess set on the coffee table in front of him and an old chess manual beside him. Zhu Shaoqing walked in quickly, her high heels clicking on the floor. Du Xiongwu, who was studying the chess manual, looked up. Unlike when she was in the forest, Zhu Shaoqing was radiant again. Ever since she had arrived at Hero City, Zhu Shaoqing had been going out every day. She had been shuttling between the rich and noble ladies to inquire about the level 9 warrior, Frenzy. Frenzy was a level 9 warrior with a very strange temper. He was rarely seen in Hero City, but most of the time, he would appear at the gatherings of the rich and powerful. He would show up as a very young man and take away beautiful women. It was for this reason that Zhu Shaoqing deliberately dressed herself up every day to make herself look younger and prettier. Zhu Shaoqing had also devoured a level 1 beast core, and her body had been strengthened. Compared to ordinary ladies, she looked younger by a few years. After putting on makeup, she looked like she was only 27 or 28 years old. No one would be able to tell that she was already a mother of 3 grown children. Xiongwu, I finally know where Frenzy is, Zhu Shaoqing said excitedly when she saw her husband looking at her. Du Xiongwu was not happy to hear this news. Instead, he frowned. This was because his younger brother, Du Xiongwu, had warned him not to interact with Frenzy. He was a level 9 warrior who was not easy to deal with. Du Xiongwu also knew that Frenzy liked beautiful women. He was worried that something might happen to Zhu Shaoqing when she went out every day. Now that Zhu Shaoqing had brought back news about Frenzy, how could he be happy? Seeing the expression on her husband's face, Zhu Shaoqing was immediately unhappy. She gritted her teeth and shouted, Du Xiongwu, are you still a man? Don't you want to avenge your 3 sons? Avenge. Du Xiongwu lowered his head and muttered these 2 words. Then he shook his head. To be honest, whenever he thought of Yang Tian, he felt powerless, like a rooster who had been defeated in a fight. He used to be a level 8 warrior, but now he had been demoted to level 6. Not only did he lose his status, but he was also cut off from the pinnacle of the warrior realm. This was a huge blow to him. Seeing that her husband was not speaking, Zhu Shaoqing stomped her feet. I'm going to find Frenzy now. No matter the price, I want him to kill Yang Tian for us. Otherwise, I won't be happy for the rest of my life. Are you coming with me? If not, I'll go alone. After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, she turned around and walked out without hesitation. Wait a minute. At this time, Du Xiongwu finally raised his head and said indifferently. Zhu Shaoqing was delighted. She knew that her husband had finally changed his mind. To be honest, she was a little worried that she would go to Frenzy's place alone. If the Frenzy wanted to do something to her, she would not have any chance to resist. It was different if her husband went with her. Although it was useless to the Frenzy, at least she would be braver. In Zhu Shaoqing's mind, as long as she could afford it, the Frenzy would definitely agree. During the decades in Hero City, Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing had used their power and status to accumulate a huge amount of wealth. They could even fork out hundreds of billions of martial coins in one go. Before Zhu Shaoqing could turn around, Du Xiongwu said, "Xiongwen told me not to look for that person. He will make us pay an unimaginable price. If we want to go, we have to wait for him to come back." Oomph. When Zhu Shaoqing heard this, she snorted coldly and turned around abruptly. "Wait for Xiongwen to come back?" Zhu Shaoqing sneered. He knew that we would go to the frenzy, so he deliberately took Xiaomei away from Hero City. Who knows when he will come back? After Zhu Shaoqing finished speaking, she turned around and walked out of the door resolutely. Sigh, Du Xiongwu sighed. He stood up, picked up the saber beside him, and followed her out. After leaving the villa, Zhu Shaoqing got into the car. Just as she was about to ask the professional driver to start the car, she saw her husband come out, open the back door, and sit beside her. Zhu Shaoqing knew that her husband was upset. She held his arm and said, "Xiongwen, don't worry. After we get our revenge, I will always be with you. I won't go anywhere, and we will live happily for the rest of our lives." Du Xiongwu nodded helplessly. When she saw her husband nodding, Zhu Shaoqing turned around and said to the driver in fluent English, "Start the car. We're going to Black Manor." When the driver heard that they were going to Black Manor, he was so frightened that his body trembled. Black Manor was a terrifying place for ordinary people in Hero City. There were many horror stories that spread from that place. Legend had it that there was an eccentric old man who liked to conduct human experiments. The driver did not start the car. He was speechless for a moment. Zhu Shaoqing frowned and said to the driver, "You just have to drive until we are close to the manor. If you don't listen to me, I will kill you right now." When he heard that they were only close to Black Manor, the driver was relieved. He had no choice but to start the car. Hero City was huge. It was at least twice the size of Tianxiong City. Compared to Tianxiong City, this was a place where martial artists had more freedom. It was not like Tianxiong City, where there were so many rules. The car sped through the city. From time to time, they could see martial artists fighting on the side of the road. There were many onlookers standing around. Westerners were different from Easterners. After becoming a martial artist, their bodies were generally very strong. Their muscles were bulging, and they gave off a strong feeling. Zhu Shaoqing looked at the situation outside. She was already thinking about what would happen when she met the rank 9 martial artist, Frenzy. Du Xiongwu was the same. He was different from Zhu Shaoqing. Zhu Shaoqing was very optimistic, but he was very worried. It was because of this that he felt his heart pounding. It was as if something big was about to happen. After driving for about half an hour, the car turned into a small road. The small road could only accommodate one car. There were tall weeds on both sides. The car could not be seen from the outside. In order not to hit anyone, the driver kept honking to avoid hitting anyone. Du Xiongwu was even more annoyed when he heard the car honking nonstop. When he finally could not take it anymore and was about to ask the driver to stop, the car stopped. The driver turned his head and said to Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, "Black Manor is in front. I can only drive here. Even if you want to kill me, I will not go." Chapter 114. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing got out of the car and parted the tall grass. What appeared in front of them was a brand new ancient castle. Surrounding the ancient castle was a man-made lake, and a road led directly to the castle in the middle of the lake. Surrounding the lake was a circle of neatly trimmed flower beds. It was the beginning of April, and the temperature had warmed up. The flowers in the flower beds were in full bloom, and the air was filled with the fragrance of flowers. This was the Black Manor. The scenery of this strange manor was very beautiful. It wasn't as creepy as other people described it. Seeing this scene, Zhu Shaoqing laughed, and Du Xiongwu was also slightly relieved. But at this time, the driver suddenly started the car. The car quickly backed up and made a sharp turn, spewing out black smoke from the exhaust pipe. The wheels rubbed against the road, making a screeching sound. The car disappeared into the dense grass like an arrow leaving the bow. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing didn't care that the driver had driven away. The two of them looked at each other and walked forward. The exterior of this manor gave people a feeling of sunshine, but it was so quiet that it made people feel lonely from the bottom of their hearts. This was a contradiction. The two of them walked along the path beside the flower beds. After walking for more than 10 minutes, they reached the road in the middle of the lake and walked towards the smooth and clean ancient castle in the middle of the lake. As they walked, a white-haired old man came over with a large pair of pruning scissors. Seeing that someone was coming, the two of them felt more relaxed. The old man only glanced at Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing, then bent down, picked up the scissors, and started pruning the messy flowers in the flower beds on both sides of the road. When Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing passed by the old man, Zhu Shaoqing looked at the old man with disgust. Because the old man was dressed very shabbily, his hair was very messy, and his body emitted a faint stench. Go back, Zhu Shaoqing and Du Xiongwu naturally disdained to greet such a person. They just walked past the old man. However, they had only taken a few steps when they heard the old man's murmur behind them. The sound was extremely soft, like the buzz of a mosquito. If it wasn't for the silence around them, they wouldn't have heard it at all. They might even have thought that they were hallucinating. The two of them stopped and turned around to look at the old man. The old man's mouth was closed, and the scissors in his hand were making kacha sounds. Go back. Of course, it was impossible. Zhu Shaoqing had already made up her mind. She must see the level 9 warrior frenzy. The two of them glanced at the old man and continued to move forward. They even quickened their pace. At this moment, the two of them heard a faint sigh behind them. The gate of the ancient castle was open. The two of them stepped onto the clean steps and walked through the gate without hesitation. After entering the gate, they found themselves in a very large space. It was extremely clean and tidy. Other than a huge crystal chandelier, there were no other attractive decorations. The place was extremely empty. It was enough to hold a large party here. Right in front of them was a spiral staircase that led to the second floor. As soon as the two of them entered the gate, a blond man in a black suit appeared on the spiral staircase and smiled at the two of them. This young man was extremely handsome. His smile was very charming, and he gave off an amiable feeling. Zhu Shaoqing and the young man looked at each other and lowered their heads shyly. This young man's gaze was invasive to women. Welcome to the Black Manor, both of you. The young blond man looked at the two of them, still maintaining the smile on his face, and said lightly, We are here to see Mr. Frenzy. Zhu Shaoqing looked at the young man and spoke in fluent English. The young blond man smiled and said, I am Frenzy. Why are you looking for me? When the young blond man said that he was Frenzy, Zhu Shaoqing and Du Xiongwu were shocked. Although they had heard that a level 9 martial artist could maintain a youthful appearance, they did not expect him to be so young. Speaking of which, Frenzy was a first-generation martial artist. Before the YS virus outbreak, he was an adult man. His real age was more than 100 years old. We would like to ask Mr. Frenzy to help us kill someone. We are willing to pay some money. Zhu Shaoqing calmed herself down and told him the purpose of her visit. Money, no. Frenzy shook his head and said, The money I have is enough to buy half of Hero City. Money is more than enough for me to spend in a few lifetimes. I don't need money. Then what do you want? Du Xiongwu saw Frenzy staring at his wife, and he wasn't happy about it. His tone was a little stiff. Frenzy ignored Du Xiongwu and looked at Zhu Shaoqing with a smile. You have what I want, and I like it very much. As long as you are willing to give it to me, I will agree to your request. In this world, there is no one that I, Frenzy, cannot kill. Frenzy smirked after he said that. Zhu Shaoqing saw a man's desire for a woman in Frenzy's eyes. She felt uneasy. Du Xiongwu frowned. He immediately took Zhu Shaoqing's hand and said to Frenzy, Since you don't like money, we have nothing to give you. Goodbye. After that, Du Xiongwu pulled Zhu Shaoqing out. Frenzy did not stop the two of them from leaving. Whoosh! When Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing reached the door, there was a sudden gust of wind. A black shadow suddenly covered the top of their heads. Then there was the sound of something heavy falling to the ground. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing only saw the black shadow clearly when it landed. It was actually a huge, exotic beast. It was a giant bat. When it retracted its wings, its body was even bigger than an elephant. Its body was covered in shiny scales. Hiss! When the giant bat landed, it opened its mouth and let out a sharp cry at the two of them. Du Xiongwu and Zhu Shaoqing covered their ears in pain when they heard the sound. They felt the world spinning around them. This was a powerful sonic attack. Zhu Shaoqing was the first to take it. She suddenly fainted on the ground. Du Xiongwu saw his wife fainting. He turned his head and looked inside the door. He saw Frenzy looking at him with a smirk. He gritted his teeth and let go of his hands that were covering his ears. He picked up his sword from the ground and jumped up, slashing at the giant bat. Hiss! At this moment, the giant bat let out an even sharper cry. Du Xiongwu was in the air. It was as if his body had crashed into a soft wall. His body bounced back. Due to the powerful sound wave attack, his head was dizzy and he was in a daze. Whoosh! At this moment, the giant bat flapped its wings and pounced at Du Xiongwu, who had fallen to the ground. Du Xiongwu instinctively raised his sword and slashed. This slash was weak and powerless against the giant bat. It did not even hurt the giant bat's fur. The giant bat used one of its hind claws to grab Du Xiongwu and quickly flew into the sky. In the blink of an eye, they were more than 100 meters in the air. Du Xiongwu finally woke up from the cold wind in the air. Chapter 115. 2 chapters combined into one. Don't say that I didn't update enough words. When Du Xiongwu completely woke up, he found himself in the air. His body was firmly grasped by one of the giant bat's claws. Du Xiongwu was horrified. In a panic, he struggled with all his might. However, the giant bat's claws were like iron pincers. They did not move an inch. At this time, the giant bat had already brought Du Xiongwu more than 100 meters up in the air. Suddenly, the giant bat let go of its claws. Ah! Du Xiongwu let out a shrill scream as he fell from a height of more than 100 meters. At a height of more than 100 meters, even a level 6 warrior would die if he fell to the ground. Bang! Du Xiongwu's body fell in front of the gate of the ancient castle. Blood splattered everywhere. A martial artist's life force was extremely strong, and Du Xiongwu did not immediately die. His eyes were wide open, and he struggled to get up, but his entire body was numb. He did not listen to his commands, and he could not even open his mouth. At this time, Du Xiongwu was on the verge of death. Suddenly, Frenzy's smiling face appeared in his eyes. Huh? Du Xiongwu let out 2 long breaths, filled with unwillingness and regret. Then, he blacked out and lost consciousness. Huff! The giant bat descended from the sky and landed beside Du Xiongwu's body. It opened its mouth and held Du Xiongwu's body in its mouth. It tilted its head back and swallowed it in a few mouthfuls. Frenzy walked in front of the giant bat. The giant bat crouched down and looked very obedient. After swallowing a level 6 warrior, you should be able to advance to level 8, right? Frenzy said with a smile as he patted the giant bat's head. From the beginning to the end, Frenzy had a smile on his face. See, in the small forest, Yang Tian waved the saber in his hand. The saber turned into white lines that interweaved into a net of light. As for his body, it was as if he was teleporting, flashing from east to west, flashing through the forest. Having been strengthened to the pinnacle of rank 8, coupled with the power of the Dragon Ball in his body, Yang Tian's current strength was equivalent to the pinnacle of rank 9. At this moment, he was familiarizing himself with his strength in preparation for the upcoming battle. Although this world's martial prowess was subverted, he knew from Qin Lao that there were even stronger exotic beasts. If beasts were like this, then martial artists should also have a higher realm. Who knows, he might even encounter a level 10 martial artist later on. Things in this world were unpredictable. In the process of practicing the saber technique, Yang Tian especially enjoyed the wonderful feeling of breaking through air resistance. After more than 10 minutes, Yang Tian stopped. The power of the Dragon Ball in Yang Tian's body had also changed. Its quality had increased by a lot. Now, not only his hands, but even his legs could turn into a pair of dragon claws. The quality of the scales covering his entire body had also increased by a lot, making his resistance to attack stronger. If it wasn't inconvenient, Yang Tian really wanted to try transforming his hands and legs into dragon claws at once to see what he would look like. Regarding this, Yang Tian had long since lost his resistance because this transformation method could be changed back at any time. He wasn't a complete monster. What made Yang Tian a little disappointed was that when he used the power of the Dragon Ball and his strength increased to the pinnacle of rank 9 martial artist, he didn't hear the mysterious summoning that Qin Lao had mentioned. Yang Tian estimated that this would have to wait until he swallowed the rank 9 beast core and became a true rank 9 martial artist. With this experience, Yang Tian was prepared to prepare 2 rank 9 beast cores for himself when he raised his realm again. There were very few rank 9 exotic beasts on land, so he estimated that he would have to go to the ocean. Yang Tian pinched his chin and thought for a while. He smiled and turned to the little blue dragon. Xiaolong, let's go to Hero City. They had been delayed in Black Rock City for a month, so they had to speed up. Fortunately, there was an endless grassland in front of them, so their speed was much faster. Frenzy squatted down with a smile and carried Zhu Xiaoqing horizontally. He turned around and walked towards the stairs. Zhu Xiaoqing's body was soft and could be described as soft and boneless. This made Frenzy very satisfied. Frenzy carried Zhu Xiaoqing to a hall on the 2nd floor. The hall was decorated with gold, diamonds, and jewels. The floor was also covered with white and expensive exotic beast fur. It felt soft when one stepped on it. In the hall, several women in silk robes were holding wine glasses. They were either lying on the carpet or lying on the sofa. These women all had one thing in common, which was that they were very beautiful. They all had a languid look on their faces. Frenzy placed Zhu Xiaoqing on a soft bed in the middle of the hall. He then turned around and took a glass of red wine from a woman's hand. He sat on the carpet and savored it carefully. The woman holding the wine glass smiled ingratiatingly and began to massage Frenzy's shoulders. Frenzy closed his eyes and leaned on the woman's body with a look of enjoyment. At this moment, a side door in the hall opened. 4 middle-aged women with ordinary looks came in. They came to the bed and stripped Zhu Xiaoqing in a few moves. They also took off the jewelry on Zhu Xiaoqing's body and threw them into the trash can along with her clothes. The 4 maids were very skilled. After they stripped Zhu Xiaoqing, they carried Zhu Xiaoqing into the luxurious bathroom on the other side of the hall. They took out all kinds of strange tools and carefully cleaned Zhu Xiaoqing's body. An hour later, Zhu Xiaoqing was carried out. At this moment, she was wearing a red silk nightgown. After putting Zhu Xiaoqing on the bed, the 4 maids silently bowed to Frenzy and left one after another. Frenzy glanced at Zhu Xiaoqing on the bed. He didn't get up and walk over. Instead, he turned his head to the window and looked at the situation outside. 10 minutes later, Zhu Xiaoqing finally opened her eyes and woke up. Zhu Xiaoqing, who was confused for a while, realized that something was wrong. She couldn't help but scream in horror. This was almost the instinct of all women. After this scream, Zhu Xiaoqing saw Frenzy and gradually calmed down. After getting off the bed, Zhu Xiaoqing walked unnaturally to Frenzy and asked nervously, Where's my husband?" Frenzy raised his head and glanced at Zhu Xiaoqing. Then he turned his head and said lightly, "He left you alone. Then I will also leave." When Zhu Xiaoqing heard Frenzy say that her husband had left, she became even more flustered. She tightened the silk nightgown on her body and quickly said goodbye. Then she turned around and walked to the door. Although Zhu Xiaoqing was experienced and knowledgeable, it was the first time she encountered such a situation. She knew that she was wearing a red silk nightgown and nothing inside. But the strange thing was that her body had never felt comfortable. The door was closed. Zhu Xiaoqing pulled the door handle, but she couldn't open the door no matter how hard she tried. "Open the door! Open the door! Open the door!" Zhu Shaoqing was an enhancer, but no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't open the door. She became more and more flustered. She began to shake the door handle and shouted. The 8 women in the hall looked at Zhu Shaoqing as if they were watching a good show. They could already guess what was going to happen next. These things had also happened to them, but in the end, they could only give in. The door and the door lock are all made of whitey elemental alloy. You can't open it. When Zhu Shaoqing was about to collapse, Frenzy's voice came from behind her. Zhu Shaoqing turned her head and looked at Frenzy with tears on her face. At this time, she had a lovely charm. Frenzy looked at Zhu Shaoqing and smiled. Didn't you want to kill someone? You can tell me now. Zhu Shaoqing was stunned. When Frenzy said this, Zhu Shaoqing's hatred for Yang Tian rose. She forgot her fear for a moment. Yang Tian, Yang Tian. Zhu Shaoqing tightened her collar and gritted her teeth as she muttered Yang Tian's name. She slowly walked in front of Frenzy and looked at Frenzy with pleading eyes. That person is called Yang Tian. He is now a level 8 warrior. A month ago, I saw him in Black Rock City. He should have come to Hero City. He killed 3 of my sons. Zhu Shaoqing gritted her teeth and finished speaking. Frenzy nodded. Yang Tian, I know. He is the youth who defeated your husband. At such a young age, he used less than a year to become a level 8 warrior. He is really amazing. Hearing Frenzy praise Yang Tian, Zhu Shaoqing was afraid that Frenzy would go back on his words. She quickly said, You have already promised me. Frenzy nodded. Yes, but you have to pay a price. Zhu Shaoqing had already realized what the so-called price was. Who asked her to be born so beautiful? She glanced at Frenzy and turned her head away. She hesitated. For Zhu Shaoqing, this was a very difficult choice. Actually, it was not a choice. Now, she was forced to do it. I am willing to do anything as long as you kill Yang Tian. After thinking for a few minutes, Zhu Shaoqing finally turned around and gritted her teeth. Frenzy looked at Zhu Shaoqing's determined face and smiled. Actually, your husband, Du Xiongwu, has already been fed to the black bat by me. Now, he is in the black bat's stomach. I am afraid that he has already become a pile of bones. Zhu Shaoqing looked at Frenzy with wide eyes. For Zhu Shaoqing, this was another heavy blow. Frenzy laughed. You don't have a choice. Just be a good girl and be my maid. I can help you kill Yang Tian. After Frenzy finished speaking, he handed the wine glass to a beautiful woman beside him and kissed her on the lips. Then, he stood up and walked to the bathroom. As he walked, he said, Think about it. Come and help me take a bath. I think you are a smart woman. You know what to do. At this time, Zhu Shaoqing acted as if she did not hear Frenzy's words. Her eyes were full of confusion. She did not understand why things would develop like this. If she had known earlier. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. She had no choice now. She knew that she could not leave here. After a while, the sound of water came from the bathroom. Zhu Shaoqing finally thought it through. She stood up and walked to the bathroom. The next morning, the rising sun shone into the room through the window. Zhu Shaoqing opened her eyes. Frenzy was no longer in bed. Thinking of what happened last night, Zhu Shaoqing's face blushed. Last night, she still had some resistance to Frenzy in her heart. But now, when she thought of what happened last night, she could not help but recall it. She did not know what kind of drug Frenzy injected into her last night. It made her feel happy that she had never felt before. At this time, a woman lying under the bed with only a thin gauze dress on her body got up and yawned lazily. After the woman woke up, she walked to the front of the bed and pressed a switch on it. Soon after, more than 10 maids came in and brought clean clothes for Zhu Shaoqing and the others. The 8 beautiful women from the West were all wearing dresses of various colors. Their waists were extremely slender. The dress prepared for Zhu Shaoqing was a red silk cheongsam with a high slit. After putting on the clothes, Zhu Shaoqing pulled one of the beautiful women and asked, What kind of drug did Master inject into us last night? YZT, the woman replied, It's a drug developed by Master. It can make a woman's skin more delicate. It can also make us more sensitive and thirsty. But the side effect is that after 5 years, we will be old women. While there are still a few years left, let's enjoy it. Zhu Xiaoqing's face was expressionless. As long as Frenzy helped her kill Yang Tian, she would accept it even if she could only live for 5 days. After dressing up, the 9 beautiful women went out of the hall and went to the 3rd floor to enter a restaurant. "Good morning, master." The original 8 women looked at Frenzy, who was sitting in front of the table, and knelt down to salute her. Only Zhu Xiaoqing stood there in a daze. "Sit down and eat." Frenzy looked up at the women and said with a smile. The food on the table was sumptuous and delicious. In addition to the meat of exotic beasts, there were also all kinds of fresh fruits. Even ordinary rich people wouldn't be able to eat these things often. Zhu Xiaoqing sat next to Frenzy. While eating, she glanced at Frenzy from time to time. She wasn't in the mood to eat at all. After seeing Frenzy finish his meal and wipe his mouth, Zhu Xiaoqing said, "Master, when are you?" Before Zhu Xiaoqing could finish, Frenzy said, "Don't worry, I will definitely do what I promised you. I'm already preparing and will leave in the afternoon. When the time comes, I will bring back Yang Tian's head so that you can rest assured." After Frenzy finished speaking, he patted Zhu Xiaoqing's face, which was even younger than yesterday, stood up and walked out. Frenzy didn't go back on his words. After lunch, he set off. He carried a great sword on his back and a huge backpack. He jumped onto the back of the giant bat. The giant bat carried him into the sky and soon disappeared from Zhu Xiaoqing's sight. Wolf howls could be heard on the grassland. A large number of wolves surrounded Yang Tian. Yang Tian had just entered the grassland and was only 200 kilometers deep when he was discovered by the wolves. At this moment, he was focused on roasting a piece of snake meat. Yang Tian acted as if he didn't hear the wolf howls. The same went for the unicorn and the little blue dragon. The 2 gluttonous fellows were drooling as they stared at the roasted meat on the fire. There was no firewood on the grassland. Yang Tian used very thick withered grass as a substitute. As he roasted the meat, he added the withered grass to the fire. It was the smoke from the withered grass that attracted the wolves. With the unicorn around, Yang Tian didn't have to worry about the wolves. If he found it troublesome, he could let the unicorn carry him into the sky and quickly leave this grassland. However, Yang Tian didn't plan to do that. He wanted to keep his promise with Qin Lao and walk to Hero City. Chapter 116. The most savage creatures on the grassland were undoubtedly the wolves. The number of wolves surrounding Yang Tian increased as time passed. The wolves stopped about 30 meters away from Yang Tian. They bared their teeth and stared coldly at Yang Tian. Without receiving the order to attack from the wolf pack leader, the wolves only surrounded Yang Tian and didn't make a move for the time being. Compared to the wolves in the forest, the mutated wolves on the grassland were much thinner and weaker. That was because they didn't have enough food. Therefore, once they found prey, even if it was an exotic beast of a higher level than them, they would attack. They would use the wolf-see tactic to tear the enemy apart and eat them. Compared to the wolves in the forest, the wolves on the grassland were even more ferocious. The meat was cooked. Yang Tian divided the meat into 3 portions, and the man and 2 beasts started to eat. Yang Tian ate very quickly. He wolfed down the food because he knew that a great battle was about to begin. There were at least 3,000 wolves surrounding him. Most of these 3,000 wolves were low-level blackback wolves, with a small number of silver-toothed wolves and red-toothed wolves mixed in gudong. After eating the meat, Yang Tian drank a bottle of pure water in one go. Then he wiped his mouth and stood up with his knife. Suddenly a wolf howl rang out. This was the attack order from the wolf pack leader. As soon as this sound rang out, the wolves immediately moved and rushed towards Yang Tian. At this moment, the little blue dragon jumped onto the back of the unicorn. The unicorn flapped its wings and flew into the sky, circling in the air dozens of meters above the ground. Rumble, the mutated wolves were huge. When they ran, they were like a herd of horses. Their momentum was shocking, and the ground trembled from their steps. The distance of 30 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. Puff, 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 puff. Yang Tian waved the saber in his hand turning into a white line. His body was also flashing at a rapid speed. Almost every slash was able to split open the body of a mutated wolf. As for the pack of wolves, they couldn't even touch the corner of Yang Tian's clothes. In Yang Tian's eyes, the movement of the pack of wolves pouncing on him was like slow motion, so he could easily dodge them. Roar! At this moment, the leader of the wolf pack howled again. Yang Tian immediately rushed in the direction of the sound. At this moment, the little unicorn in the sky also flew towards the leader of the pack of wolves, pointing the way for Yang Tian. Puff, puff, puff. Yang Tian, who was surrounded by the pack of wolves, advanced at an extremely fast speed. The wolves in front of him were all cleaved apart by his saber. Roar! Seeing Yang Tian coming towards it, the wolf pack leader let out another howl. More than 10 level 3 red-fanged wolves rushed forward, blocking in front of Yang Tian. Yang Tian's strength was already at the peak of a level 9 warrior. To him, a level 3 red-fanged wolf was no different from an ordinary blackback wolf. More than 10 red-fanged wolves were quickly killed by Yang Tian. Compared to the wolves in the forest, these wolves were more ferocious. They didn't fear death. Even if more than 10 red-fanged wolves were killed, the wolf pack didn't panic at all. They continued to attack Yang Tian. The leader of the wolf pack was very cunning. At this moment, it began to move around the pack of wolves at an extremely fast speed. It controlled the pack of wolves to surround Yang Tian. The distance between it and Yang Tian didn't seem to shorten at all. After Yang Tian realized this problem, he sneered. Since he couldn't kill the leader of the wolf pack in a short period of time, then he would kill it. He would kill until the wolf pack was afraid. Almost every second, a wolf was killed by Yang Tian. At this speed, he would be able to kill the pack of wolves in less than an hour, more than half an hour later. Looking down from the sky, with Yang Tian as the center, the area within 100 meters of him was covered with wolf corpses. The wolf pack that attacked Yang Tian had already dispersed. At Yang Tian's feet, there was a huge wolf corpse. This was a level 6 green-furred wolf. This green-furred wolf had a deep wound on its neck. Below its body was a pool of dark red blood that hadn't yet soaked to the ground. The air was filled with a fishy smell. After killing more than 1,000 wolves, the wolf pack was reduced by half and showed signs of collapse. As the leader of the wolf pack, this green-furred wolf turned and fled when it saw that something was wrong. Once the leader of the wolf pack fled, the wolf pack was no longer under control and scattered. Yang Tian took the opportunity to rush over and kill this green-furred wolf. After cutting open the green-furred wolf's head with his sword, Yang Tian used his sword to pick out a level 6 dark blue beast core. Next, under the guidance of the little blue dragon, Yang Tian broke open the heads of some wolf corpses and found 15 level 1 beast cores, 6 level 2 beast cores, 7 level 3 beast cores, 2 level 4 beast cores, and 1 level 5 beast core. In total, there were 32 beast cores. In less than an hour, he had such a bountiful harvest. Yang Tian was very satisfied. After his strength increased to level 9, it was indeed different. After killing more than 1,000 wolves, Yang Tian still felt that he hadn't recovered yet. It was as if he had just done a warm-up exercise. After easily obtaining so many beast cores, Yang Tian had a deeper understanding that after becoming a level 8 or 9 advanced martialist, the source of money was no longer a problem. The martial coins in his bank account were really just a string of numbers. Yang Tian finally understood why so many level 9 martialists have been mysteriously summoned and disappeared from this world. It was because, to them, if they didn't pursue higher realms and more mysterious things, their future days would be very boring. After putting more than 30 beast cores into his backpack, Yang Tian continued on with the little blue dragon and the unicorn. 10 days later. At this time, Yang Tian had already reached the borders of Russia and was about 100 kilometers away from Ulan City. Looking at the towering Ulan City in the distance, Yang Tian didn't intend to enter. Instead, he headed west. In fact, there was a shorter route from Tianxiong City to Hero City. However, this was the route marked on the map that Qin Lao had given him. According to the map, After passing Wulon City, about 200 kilometers to the west, there was a level 8 exotic beast. Of course, Yang Tian wouldn't let go of a high-level exotic beast. The value of a level 8 beast core was more than the value of the dozens of beast cores he had obtained during this period. There were more martialists near Wulon City. This was a good time to come out and gain experience. In a few months, this place would be covered in ice and snow. Along the way, Yang Tian encountered many martialists. Most of them were burly men. When they saw Yang Tian, most of them avoided him. This was because many martialists knew Yang Tian. Yang Tian had long been famous all over the world. His deeds were circulating on the internet. Of course, there were also photos of him. The battle between Yang Tian and Du Xiongwu had been recorded by many people and posted on the internet. This also saved Yang Tian a lot of trouble. No one dared to find trouble with him, and he didn't want to kill anyone. The news of Yang Tian's appearance in Wulon City was quickly spread by some martialists. After passing through the security zone of Wulon City and traveling dozens of kilometers, Yang Tian was sitting on a small hill, making lunch and basking in the warm sunlight. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. Whoosh! When Yang Tian raised his head, he saw a large bat flapping its wings and landing on the ground. A young man jumped down from the bat. The frenzy had finally found Yang Tian. Chapter 117. Thank you, Li Junyang, and the other readers for your tips. In the Atlantic Ocean, in a trench more than 3,000 meters deep, the Braveheart capsule that had returned from Mars had sunk here. Nearly 100 years had passed, and the capsule had long been covered by the seawater. Its original appearance could not be seen. Some large mutated sea creatures were cruising nearby. Not far from the capsule, a formation plate about 5 meters in diameter with strange runes engraved on it emitted a faint blue light. It was constantly and slowly rotating. This was the mysterious door that Qin Lao had mentioned. The summoning of a level 9 warrior also came from it. Nearly 100 years had passed, but this formation plate was still very clean. There was not even a trace of dust on the formation plate. At this moment, a huge red octopus was lying on its stomach not far from the formation plate. It shook its thick tentacles from time to time, sucking in mutated fish that were larger than cows that passed by and sweeping them into its mouth. Suddenly, the blue light of the formation plate brightened a little, and the speed of its rotation increased by several times. A few seconds later, a person wearing black armor and carrying a bone spike appeared in the formation plate. As his entire head was covered by a helmet and a mask, his appearance could not be seen clearly. In the dim light, his bright red hair was very conspicuous, like blood. As soon as the red-haired man in black armor appeared, he walked out of the formation plate. In the water pressure of more than 3,000 meters, he walked as if he was taking a stroll. The seawater did not seem to have the slightest resistance to him. The huge red octopus discovered the red-haired man in black armor and used a thick tentacle to wrap around him. However, before the tentacle could touch the red-haired man in black armor, the man in black armor moved. He bent his legs slightly and straightened them in an instant. Using the force of his legs, he rushed toward the huge octopus. The man in black armor was very fast. His body turned into a white line in the water and passed through the body of the huge octopus in an instant. He did not stop at all and headed toward the surface. After the man in black armor disappeared, the huge octopus suddenly stopped moving. Its body began to disintegrate rapidly, turning into pieces of meat that scattered in all directions. When the giant octopus disintegrated, the seawater was dyed red. The carnivorous marine creatures that smelled the blood swam over from all directions, snatching these pieces of meat. All of a sudden, a 5-colored beast core fell to the bottom of the ocean and was devoured by a small fish. The black-armored man rushed out of the sea and hovered a few meters above the sea. The black-armored man hung his bone-spike weapon on his waist and raised his left hand. His right index finger pressed on the vambrace on his left hand. The vambrace opened, and a dark blue ray of light shot out. Soon, A 3D image of the entire Earth appeared in the light. The man in black armor looked at the 3D map and flew toward Hero City, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Yang Tian frowned when he saw the handsome Westerner who had suddenly appeared. This person gave him a very dangerous feeling. The only person who could pressure Yang Tian now was a level 9 martial artist. After Frenzy jumped down from the giant bat's back, he stabbed the giant sword in his hand into the ground and looked at Yang Tian with a smile. Whoosh! Perhaps it had sensed Frenzy's aura. The unicorn snorted and nervously dug the ground with its front hooves. The little blue dragon was not affected by Frenzy at all. It hid in the canopy of a tree far away and looked at Frenzy excitedly. This person did not come with good intentions. Yang Tian pulled out the blade beside him and stood up. As Yang Tian's strength increased rapidly, the enemies he faced were also getting stronger. Previously, it was the level 8 martial artist brothers Du Xiongwu and Du Xiongwen. Now, there was a level 9 martial artist looking for him. You must be Yang Tian. My name is Frenzy. Someone asked me to kill you. Frenzy looked at Yang Tian with the same smile on his face and said lightly, Frenzy? Yang Tian had never heard of this name. However, Yang Tian only needed to know that he was a level 9 martial artist. He did not care who the other party was. If they wanted to find trouble with him, then he would defeat them or kill them. Who asked you to kill me? Yang Tian looked at Frenzy and asked calmly. At this moment, the giant bat circling in the sky suddenly screamed and shot an offensive sound wave at Yang Tian. Yang Tian felt a slight pain in his ears from the piercing sound. Fortunately, as soon as Frenzy appeared, he began to use his mind to call upon a large amount of the power of the Dragon Ball. The surface of the skin under his clothes had already grown scales. Although the giant bat's sound wave was powerful, it could not cause serious damage to Yang Tian. The offensive sound wave it emitted was even stronger than the sound wave it used to attack Du Xiongwu. Seeing that his pet beast's special attack could not hurt Yang Tian, Frenzy nodded and said, a woman called Zhu Shaoqing. When he heard the words Zhu Shaoqing, Yang Tian's face did not show any surprise. This was already within his expectations. Yang Tian smiled and said, to be able to invite a level 9 martial artist, Zhu Shaoqing must have paid a high price, right? Frenzy nodded. Her husband, Du Xiongwu, is dead and she became my maid. I like mature women like her. She voluntarily delivered herself to me, so I couldn't refuse. But as a martial artist, I have to keep my promise. So, I'm here to kill you. After Yang Tian learned of Zhu Shaoqing's fate, he did not feel happy, because Zhu Shaoqing was like an aunt to him. Letting her go before was like letting an ant go. Yang Tian had long had the mentality of a powerhouse. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you if you come to kill me? You should know that I'm also a level 9 martial artist now. Yang Tian said calmly as soon as Frenzy finished speaking. Frenzy pointed to the sky and smiled. You becoming a level 9 martial artist is indeed beyond my expectations. But you're only one person while I have a level 8 pet beast. With its help, how can you be a match for me? Puffed. After Frenzy finished speaking, his figure flashed, and he appeared in front of Yang Tian in the blink of an eye. When he moved, there was a slight sonic boom. Frenzy was very fast, and he was very good at seizing opportunities. Frenzy thought that Yang Tian would panic when he heard that a pet beast was helping him. But what Frenzy didn't know was that Yang Tian also had a pet beast. Moreover, it was a pet beast that was not in the same level as an exotic beast, the little blue dragon. Yang Tian was very experienced in fighting, and he was always on guard against Frenzy. When Frenzy moved, he moved as well. Bang! Frenzy's attack slashed across Yang Tian's shadow and landed on the ground with a loud bang. Chapter 118. In the sky above this short mountain, there was a huge black bat circling around. It naturally attracted many martial artists over. This was because they knew that Yang Tian was here, and this huge black bat was the level 9 warrior Frenzy's pet beast. It was the only one in the world. When two of the world's top fighters met, it was only natural that an exciting show would take place. They naturally didn't want to miss out on such a good show, Soon, a large number of warriors gathered a few hundred meters away from the hill. These warriors all took out their binoculars and placed them in front of their eyes, watching Yang Tian in frenzy. There were also some smart warriors who connected their auxiliary devices to their binoculars to record the encounter between Yang Tian and Frenzy and broadcast it on the internet. Yang Tian and Frenzy naturally knew that there were many people around them, but they didn't care. Yang Tian dodged Frenzy's sudden slash and dodged to the side. At this moment, Frenzy didn't continue attacking Yang Tian. Instead, he stopped about 10 meters away from Yang Tian. So fast, exciting. I didn't get to see the competition in Tianxiong City with my own eyes. This time, my wish is finally fulfilled. The warriors with binoculars sighed, causing those who didn't to feel envious. However, they didn't dare to move forward. CSI. When Frenzy retreated, the huge bat in the sky once again released a special frequency sound wave to attack Yang Tian. Yang Tian's ears hurt from this sound wave again. His mind was a little muddled, and he wasn't as clear-headed as before. The huge bat sound wave attack was really too powerful. It was no wonder that Frenzy was confident in killing Yang Tian, even after knowing that Yang Tian was a level 9 warrior. Seeing Yang Tian's frown, Frenzy knew that his tamed beast was already attacking Yang Tian. With a flicker, he appeared before Yang Tian once more. This time, his speed was even faster than before. Looking at the incoming sword, Yang Tian focused his mind and dodged to the side again. However, just as his body broke through the air resistance, Frenzy's great sword had already landed on his chest. Pump! With a muffled sound, Yang Tian was sent flying by Frenzy's sword. This sword did not break Yang Tian's skin because Yang Tian had already used the power of the Dragon Ball to grow extremely defensive scales on his chest. In addition, he was wearing the leather armor given to him by Qin Lao. Although the sword did not injure Yang Tian's flesh, the impact caused Yang Tian's chest to feel stuffy, and his organs were slightly damaged. When Yang Tian landed on the ground, he forcefully swallowed a mouthful of blood that had surged up his throat. It had been a long time since he was injured. Yang Tian flipped over and got up. He coldly glanced at Frenzy, who had raised his greatsword again, and the huge black bat circling in the sky. If it was just Frenzy alone, Yang Tian was more than 80% sure that he could defeat him. However, with this huge bat, Yang Tian was at a disadvantage. Sure enough, with a tamed beast, a warrior's combat strength would increase exponentially. It was no wonder that every martial artist wanted a pet beast. At this moment, the unicorn had already run to the bottom of the hill and was far away. It didn't dare to fly up. This was because it was only a level 4 beast, while the huge bat in the sky was at least level 7 or above. Yang Tian, you can't beat me. Your tamed beast is still too weak. When he said this, Frenzy looked at Yang Tian with a hint of contempt, as if he was certain that Yang Tian was about to die in his hands. Yang Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said with a smile, "You have a tamed beast, so do I. If I let my tamed beast out, I'm afraid you'll get a shock." When Yang Tian said this, Frenzy pretended to be curious and widened his eyes. "Sure, then take it out and let me see." Yang Tian nodded very seriously. Then, he turned around and said loudly, "Xiaolong, it's your turn. Kill that ugly monster." Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon, who was lying on a tree, roared excitedly. In the eyes of Frenzy and the surrounding warriors, a green shadow suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Yang Tian. It was actually a very small dragon. The little blue dragon had swallowed many beast cores in the past month, and its body seemed to have become thicker, but its length didn't change much. A dragon. Seeing the little blue dragon appear beside Yang Tian, Frenzy was really surprised this time. Shush! The little blue dragon paused beside Yang Tian for a moment, then suddenly charged into the sky. All this time, the little blue dragon had been concealing its presence. The nearby beasts and warriors were unable to detect its presence. At this time, the little blue dragon stopped concealing its presence. Moreover, when it was in the air, its body quickly grew. In a few blinks of an eye, it became a giant dragon with a diameter of more than 5 meters. To the giant black bat, the little blue dragon was already a giant in its eyes. A powerful presence was emitted from the little blue dragon's body. It was domineering, and for a moment, the giant black bat was intimidated. This cunning fellow quickly reacted and flapped its wings to fly away, wanting to escape. Of course, the little blue dragon wouldn't let the giant black bat go. It immediately chased after it. Its speed was much faster than the giant black bat. In an instant, it appeared above the giant black bat's head and slammed down with its claw. The black bat didn't even have the chance to resist and was slapped to the ground by the little blue dragon's claw. The little blue dragon didn't let it go. It swooped down and pressed the black bat under its claw, stopping it from moving. Roar! After easily defeating the black bat, the little blue dragon proudly let out a dragon's roar that reverberated through the sky. The little blue dragon's roar caused all the beasts within dozens of kilometers to flee in panic. At this time, Frenzy and the other warriors who were watching the battle finally came to their senses. Yang Tian looked at Frenzy and smiled. "Did my pet beast scare you? Now, there are no more beasts to disturb our battle. Let's continue." The smile on Frenzy's face was gone. Instead, it was replaced by a serious expression. He didn't expect that Yang Tian would have such a terrifying pet beast. It was a dragon, an eastern giant dragon. Without the giant black bat to help him, Frenzy's chances of defeating Yang Tian were much lower. "You've hidden it too well. How could you hide such a powerful pet beast until now?" Frenzy gritted his teeth. Yang Tian's behavior made him very angry, and a feeling of grievance appeared in his heart for no reason. Why didn't he let out such a powerful pet beast earlier? Letting it out now was equivalent to bullying others. There was a soft sound. Yang Tian didn't want to waste any more words with Frenzy. In a flash, he appeared in front of Frenzy and slashed at him. Frenzy was a peak level 9 martial artist. Naturally, he wasn't weak. Facing Yang Tian's attack, he raised his sword to meet it. Bang! When the two weapons made contact, there was a sound like an explosion. Yang Tian's attack was very powerful, and he even borrowed the force of the impact. Frenzy couldn't use his full strength. Yang Tian's attack forced him to quickly retreat. Yang Tian used the snow cleaver and chased after Frenzy. "By the way, I have something to do at home tomorrow. Of course, I won't stop updating, but I'll be updating later. I'll update all 3 chapters at night. Have fun on your last day of vacation." You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.